Number 1 Iron Age Booty Daddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey, my voice worked this time. Welcome back to Iron Age Nights. What's going on, everybody?
Hi.
Howdy,
Get
howdy.
that good rumble in the voice. Oh,
That was a great growl, man.
oh man, I tried, dude. I tried.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I haven't been able to do it. Might could not have had too many beers the last 2 weekends ago, and whew, yeah, had a buddy come out and visit, and that whole week I was just like, I think I'm dying.
You know what helps?
What?
Buttermilk. Buttermilk. I used to sing in a metal band.
Oh, there you
And
go.
so, yeah, buttermilk was the way to go. Let me go ahead and get rid of Alexa for tonight.
I was gonna say, I was like,
I swear
Sir,
I'm hearing
is-
something.
Like, who is that? Who's that
I've
lady?
had-
sir, is
happened.
someone under your desk?
Well,
That joke.
let's not talk about that.
That's a different stream.
If you see me smiling tonight,
Oh, we're on.
if I seem distracted,
Right? It's like, wait, what was that question again? Hey, why did your eyes? Never mind. We're not continuing this joke anymore. Ladies, over in the Rumble chat, we've got Chatsu. Chatsu, what's going on? How are you doing, good sir? He said he's busy writing, but he's going to leave this up on the second monitor while he keeps writing. Attaboy, good sir. Attaboy.
Yeah,
And Chatsu basically said he's like, I'm done gaming. I'm done doing anything until my writing is done. So he is hammering down. So congratulations to him. You know, get hungry, guys. Get hungry. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. John, hey, Douglas over there. And I usually don't read the chats. I usually just say hello, but this one's hilarious. John A. Douglas over on Rumble says, smash the whimpering plussy and share her video around like the dirty girl she is. Assert dominance on the interwebs. John, we're not
Wow.
even 4 minutes into the show, dude. You couldn't have waited.
No.
Good God, sir. Give her a break just a little bit. Oh, good Lord. And for those over there on the YouTube side, if you are unaware, we do have a Rumble chat. So it would be wonderful if you guys would go check out the Rumble, if that is more your style. Over here on the live chat, my lovely wife came in and she says, the game. So for those of you who...
Yep.
I was winning for a long time.
Oh, shit, I didn't know you knew.
Yeah,
I
we
lost like...
know.
I'm serious. I hadn't thought about it since before the nap. So, I mean,
Oh,
I was doing
no.
pretty good. I was doing pretty good.
That's doing pretty good. I know that's just psychological warfare from people our generation. It's just like, no.
No.
AS Bruner,
Tell me you're a
what's
Gen
going-
Xer without telling me you're a Gen Xer.
Right. Dude, I'm a millennial. What? Oh, good God. AS Bruner down in the chat. What's going on, man? Swift Sword Rush, how are you doing?
Dude.
Massive Panda, what's going on? How are you? Oxen W, how are you doing? James Craig popping in for just a minute to say hello. He's going to do some gaming tonight. Rest and relaxation is good, ladies and gentlemen, as long as it's done in moderation. But make sure to get that rest and relaxation. And Horizon Talker, how are you? Frederick Guimont, what's going on? How are you? Periopsis Press, what's going on, Katie? How are you?
Hi, Katie.
I have to find where my wife and my children put my books, but I will be finishing Dan the Destructor this week. I'm only 28 pages in, so it's fine. It's fine. I'll have it read by Thursday. I will have it read by Thursday because I am actually doing a live stream with Katie and others, and we're going to be doing a book club for Dan the Destructor this Thursday. So it's gonna be live on my channel, guys. So it's gonna be great, and then we'll be rotating channels after that for other books. And God, I hope I have time to read. Guilty Gearhead, what's going on? How are you? Brian McCoppin is here as well. What's going on,
Brian.
sir? Ubison, what up? Chris M, how are you doing? Good, sir. John A. Douglas, he is double dipping. He's just double
Of
dip,
course.
cheating on the Rumble Plussy. Oh God. Oh, Edwin, boy, it's story time. How are you doing? That is the man who
#1 Iron Age booty daddy.
that's his voice right there. That was so freaking great. That night was hilarious. I love it. Immortal Rising Comics, how are you? Eric Wag, Evely Music, Sam Rogers, good morning from Australia. Good morning to you, good sir.
Morning.
I would say get a cold beer, but it's morning. Get some coffee, maybe some strong coffee, if you know what I'm saying. But ladies and gentlemen,
Australia, it's okay, right?
it's Australia, right? Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Well, they're in upside down world, so they drink beer in the morning and coffee at night. That's how it works, right? I don't know. I'm an uncultured construction worker, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we do over here. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here, guys. We made it through another week, and I hope you guys had a fantastic week. If you guys are like, well, my week was bad. It's bad because you thought it was bad. Think it's good, and it's going to be good. Change your mindset, ladies and gentlemen. Really feeling that vibe tonight, right? Change your mindset. It's all about.
True.
It is. It's all about a mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to talk about a man who changed his mindset when it came to how to promote and really grab the culture that we are living in and build something in a little bit of a different way because he changed his mindset. That's right, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who bangs on the anvil, the Iron Age anvil, and called it a magazine to boot, and then decided to promote a bunch of other people inside of it. That's right. We call him on this channel King Richard of IronAge.media. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing very well. It's been a good week, but busy. I'm trying to get the printer for Anvil lined out. They've been having some issues, I guess, with staffing and other things like that. So the proof is not out yet, which is a little bit disappointing.
What is up with all the printers, dude?
Well, I think it's just like a labor issue in general.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I've heard that there's a lot of people that have problems with folks just not showing up for work, and
yeah,
they're kind of in a part of town where it wouldn't surprise me just because it's so low income. If they're hiring from folks who are in the area, it might be somebody who just works for as long as they need to get the thing that they want, and then they go back on whatever
The time has never been
subsistence
better.
programs they're on.
yeah.
The time has never been better for someone with work ethic
Mhm.
to be extremely
so true.
successful.
Yeah.
Like you can own this world right now
Yeah.
if you have any sort of work ethic whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's
Not even
ridiculous.
like a lot. Just like, I'll show up to work every day. You don't even have to show up on time. You just got to be there.
Yeah,
just
know.
show up. Yeah.
Like, and you can make just
Show up and
gobs
do your
of
job.
money.
Yeah. Yes.
It's insane. Ugh.
Pretty much.
Well, dude, hopefully you get through that. How was the rest of your week outside of that? Everything going good?
Yeah. I mean, the kids have been kind of have some kind of summer cold thing that they picked
Oh.
up somewhere, and
Hay fever.
just the kind of the usual
Plague.
yeah, the usual kid grossness, but otherwise good. I made my first unnecessary firearm purchase that I've made in a while. So
Excuse me, sir. There's no such thing as
well,
an unnecessary
I was gonna
firearm
say.
purchase.
a less necessary firearm purchase. Let's put it that way. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know how many firearms you need, right, Richard?
one more.
Just one more.
Yeah, exactly,
Attaboy. I am so sorry, Mrs. Iron Age Media. I apologize.
No, she's very supportive. So
Oh,
we're all
oh, yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Well, we better move. We better move the show along, good sir. And we better go to that guy who is going to drag kicking and screaming the idea out of your head and help you put it on to the page and then tell that story to be a good boy as it gets sold to the masses. Ladies and gentlemen, the man from whimsyland.org, Mr. Daniel P. Riley. Good sir, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
It's been an awesome week. Despite losing internet for an entire day, which put me 2 days behind on getting work done.
Oh, that's what you meant by that tweet. I was like, wait, how is
Yeah.
internet for it? I see what you. Oh,
Yep.
Oh.
I did as much as I could offline as possible, but I got to get things out to people so that they can get them back to me so that I can finish them. So it was a do things on the computer, send it on my phone. Do things on the computer, send it on my phone. It was an annoying process, but
That's
we
what-
got it done, and getting more writing done on this book I've been working on. Clients get in touch with me every day now,
Good.
and I got 5 pages back from my artist for the G-Side manga.
nice.
So we're rocking and rolling. I sent him the next set out, so he's going to get started on that.
Good deal, man.
Yes,
That's awesome.
I'm very excited. It looks fantastic, and my daughter is going to put her visual creativity to work in some accenting on the pages. Things like neon lights on streets will be in color, whereas everything else is black and white. I'm at least going to do that.
Oh, dude,
as a,
that sounds so cool.
Yeah, I'm at least going to do that for for backer issues when I do the crowdfunding campaign for the comic itself. Plus some extra little goodies that'll be put in the back of the comic at the end of each. So
I want a Whimsyland
cool.
beer. Just one.
just a Whimsyland
Hojo.
beer.
You got to work with Hojo. And then you got to be like, all right, so if I drank a beer, I'd want it to taste like this. And then Hojo can make one beer, and then you guys can send it to me.
I'll talk to Hojo. We'll see. I did find something cool though. If you want to see, this is my new favorite thing, even though it's not my new favorite drink.
Uh-oh. What is that?
Writer's tears.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, God.
It was like it says tears, but I'm having trouble.
Writer's Tears
Yeah.
Copper Pot Whiskey.
Ooh,
There you go.
Ooh, copper pot whiskey. Ooh, that's going to have a
I
really...
just love the bottle though. Writer's Tears. It cracks me up.
Right. Might have to drink some of that when we get together for the Iron Age barbecue that I'm still trying to get you guys to agree to.
I bought that bottle for next week.
Well, I can't throw. I mean, I could throw a barbecue.
Oh my
but the
goodness!
smo-
Next week, yeah. I need to.
Next week is the cigar stream.
Yeah, I know. I'm remembering that now. I'm like, oh, oops.
No, wait. No, not next week.
Isn't
Next
it?
week is not
Or
the cigar stream.
17th?
Is it
Or
not?
is it the 17th?
No, the 17th is. And actually, I will
Oh.
actually be home for that, so which is really good because I'll actually be able to run a little bit of a better setup. Plans changed radically because just life happened. So I'll actually be home for that one, which will be great. So
good.
yeah, so I'll actually have my actual setup. So if God forbid things fail horribly, I'll be able to run downstairs real quick and get everything going. So yes, the cigar stream is not next week; it is the week after. Now we're gonna have a round
Still
table.
gonna have the bottle.
And then it is also the anniversary. It's the 1 year anniversary, I believe, to the day of me releasing my first ISOM video that kind of blew my channel up and like got the channel out there. So I had the idea that basically we can all watch that video, however many of us decide to show up on panel, and I have to send out invites to all of our previous guests to see who wants to show up, and we'll just have a rotating door of people, and everybody can make fun of me in that video and be like, wow, Royce, just wow. So we'll do that for a little bit, and then we're just going to have some fun. We're going to smoke some stogies, talk some shop. We're going to talk some comics. We're going to talk some pop culture, new, old, doesn't matter. And we're going to have some fun. So that's 2 weeks away. 2 weeks
Two
away.
weeks away.
Yes.
Iron Age Nights, the Royce roast.
I mean, is that different than any other week?
Yeah, but this stream is dedicated to
That's true.
roasting you.
That's true. That's true. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time, because we're 15 minutes in the stream and I haven't done this yet. But it is time to turn the show over to somebody who caught my interest rather quickly once I kind of found out who he was.
Same.
He writes his own comics. He built his own website to compete and hopefully grow bigger than Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And then on top of that, while he's doing all of this and presumably living a life as well, I don't know, maybe he's not. We'll find that out in today's show. He also goes, you know what? Let's build a distribution company as well for all these indies. And my job about bounced off the floor. Probably shouldn't have been in a live chat at work. And I am unbelievably excited to introduce everybody to Luke Stone from Luke Stone Studios, Fund My Comics, and Iron Age Distribution. Sir, how has your last week been?
It's been great. First off, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
yeah.
I love coming on shows and just kind of hanging out and talking, and especially when I'm not doing the like hosting.
Oh.
It's great to just like, yeah, let somebody else kill all the dead air, you know, like they got to worry about that, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I just get to,
Guest.
just get to sit back and listen, and have fun. But no, the week's been pretty good. I got, let me see, what was it? 6 or 7 pages turned in this week to the various people that I'm working with. And,
Nice.
yep, a couple of covers got finished up this week as well. And then, man, Fund My Comic is going nuts. I mean, we had Kelsey Shannon launch, and he skyrocketed up over 14,000 already.
Jeez.
And, you know,
That's
we've got
nuts.
new names. Patrick Thomas Parnell just announced that he's launching a book tomorrow on Fund My Comic. And there's more coming, guys. There's a whole lot more coming. And then, yeah, it's been a good week. Been a really, really good week. So, of course, every week is good when you're alive and you do what you love to do and you've got a smoking hot wife.
Oh, you have one of those too?
I
Oh,
do.
It's
I really
awesome,
do.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So
It
good.
is
Makes
awesome.
coming home a lot easier.
Yeah. I never have to come home. I'm always home.
Oh, no,
But
I
that's-
still have
yeah.
the day job. I still have my day job.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me, they go, dude, what's it like to be a YouTuber full time? And I'm like, I don't know.
Is that, I don't know. I'll let you know when it happens, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, well, we'll get into it a little bit, but no, I've been doing this full time now for several months.
Good for
coming up on close to a
you.
year, yeah.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
this is what I do now. I draw pictures. I draw cartoons for people.
That's
Excellent.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
so
cool.
that actually gets us into that first question that I told you in the pre-show, because I kind of had my first question lined out because I ask it to everybody because it's a good first question. But why don't you, as far back as you want to go, some people start in the Mesozoic era when the dinosaurs were there. Some people
Right.
start 6 months ago. You never know. How is it that you got into the world that you're in now? What got you interested in artwork, developing your own comic books, and then obviously further, we'll get to it later, but
Right,
designing and developing Fund My Comic and Iron Age distribution. But let's start with the comic book and tell us.
What got me into comics? What started the love affair, huh? Well,
Yes.
I'll start this. I'll go back when I was 3 years old. So mom
Nice.
and dad, they weren't the most responsible parents. And so they used to go and hang out at this place called Breakfast House with their friends and drink coffee all night and chat till about 3 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, I was 3 years old at the time.
Oh, jeez.
I was a 3-year-old with ADHD. She refused to medicate me. I love my mom. And so in order to kind of calm me down, she would just start throwing, she knew that I liked to scribble, so she'd throw napkins down. And that kind of got me interested in drawing. I started drawing all over everything and anything. And then the scribbles turned to stick figures and started adding clothes to the stick figures. And then when I was 5 years old, my dad introduced me to some comic books. And I fell in love with those. Cherished the ones that I had. When I was old enough to have my first job, I was 13 years old. I had an allowance, and so I started riding my bike over to the local comic book shop, and I would buy stuff. And so that summer, when I turned 14, I did detasseling. Now, if you live in the Midwest, then you got to know what detasseling is. It's hellacious work that it's child abuse is what it is.
It's child abuse is what
Yes,
it is.
they pay you like $3 an hour to go out into the cornfields and pull off the tassels off the top. You're detasseling the corn, right?
What
So,
state are you at? Are you still in the Midwest?
I am now. I was in Florida for a while, but life took me there, and that's kind of where I had been for the last 9 years. And I'm back in southern Indiana now, so I wasn't.
Okay. You're still
Central
some hours
Indiana
away
back then, yeah. So but yeah, so we did. It was a lot of, So I remember doing that, and then that gave me a lot of money to really spend on comic books and games and stuff like that, and so that really got me in love with it. And it was my dream to one day have my own comic book series, with a role playing game and everything attached to it. Because we would, this was 14-year-old Lucas sitting in a comic book shop, reading the latest X-Men, 1994, and we would, especially during the summer, all of my friends, we would, buy new dice if we had money for it or whatever. And then we're staying at somebody's house and we're going to be up all night long eating pizza and drinking Mountain Dew. Funny as, or Surge back then. I think it was Surge.
Yeah.
And we would, but we were going to be up all night, playing, role playing games and stuff like that. So that was kind of what really got me
magic
into it.
missiles into the darkness.
Exactly. That was life. And, and then I learned how to play guitar and realized that girls found that way, way more intriguing than comic books and nerd stuff. So I kind of hid the nerd stuff. And I got really good at guitar so that I could pick up chicks.
I ran this experiment as a teenager. Brought my guitar along. Me and my buddy had this harebrained idea. We're just like, it doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter where you are. You pull out a guitar, start playing it. Girls will show up.
They do, yeah.
And dude, it's a thing. We were his sister was in a barrel racing competition. I'm a country kid, right? So she goes. So we literally go to the car. We're in the freaking parking lot. I pull out the guitar, just start strumming some chords. I'm not the greatest guitarist on the planet, Strumming some chords, singing. Girls show up.
It works.
It's how it works.
It works, yeah.
Gentlemen, buy you a guitar.
You're guaranteed to make out with at least one of them. And if you're lucky, they'll be reasonably attractive. They're not always.
We said girls. We didn't say good looking.
Yeah, like that's
true.
But beauty, beauty's only skin deep. So
I'm not going to take that joke any further. Anyway,
yeah.
So you detour on the music thing because you found out that girls think guitars are hot.
Yeah. So I detoured on the music thing for a while, and that wound up leading me actually into ministry. And so from there, I went into youth ministry and music ministry. That is what led me to Florida. And so I ended up in Florida in 2014. And I was the youth pastor and music pastor at the time. And I was wanting to be in a band. I'd always played in bands. And there was, unless you played metal or hip hop, there was nothing. No bands in Jacksonville. Which Jacksonville is huge. You would think, that's where Leonard Skinner is from. Right? So you'd think there'd be something, and I didn't want to do covers. I wanted to do some original music, and I just couldn't find anything. And we had a friend, so a really good friend of mine from back in the day, named Gary. His brother Jeremy Dale was an artist for IDW. Did his own book called Skyward and did G.I. Joe. And I kind of lived vicariously through the idea that one of us in the friend group had made it into comics. So it was okay for me to just like screw around and not do comics, right? Well, in 2024, in November, he wound up getting sick, got some con crud, and it hit him hard, and it's so bad that he wound up passing away pretty young, just a few years older than me. And man, did that hit. So I couldn't find a band at the time, but I realized that, you know, here I am at that time in my late 30s, that I had not done, let me see what year was that, 2014, I would have been 34. Yeah, 34. So man, 9 years ago. Dear God, time
Stop
flies.
talking. Don't do that.
Jeez,
we don't talk
careful.
about how we're olds here, okay?
Gosh, yeah.
And I'm like just becoming an old.
Never thought I would be an old man.
I know. We all thought that we would die young.
I did. Well, you know,
Only
I
as
guess
old as you
getting
feel.
old. I told my son the other day. I said the only good thing about getting old is not dying young.
Wait,
That's the only good thing about it.
is that a trade-off?
I don't know. I guess it is. So yeah, but that's yeah. So yeah, but that shook me, man. It shook me, you know, that here you know that I was, you know, in my 30s and I had not done anything with comic books that was just my love, my passion. And so I decided I was going to try to get one published, and I started working on it, and no one would publish me because I sucked. So I decided that I was going to do it anyway because I'm stubborn and a little bit of a bastard. And
There you go.
so that's what I did. So I started a small publishing company, learned a lot about comic books 2014, 2015. And then I wound up getting, and people call it promoted. I don't call it a promotion, but I wound up becoming the lead pastor. So there was a problem like a few months after getting there. The lead pastor was asked to resign. I filled the pulpit, and then the church wanted to install me as pastor, and I reluctantly took it. And so we are then the pastors, and I had some problematic stuff going on at the church, so I took a little break, but kept only one of my books going through a little company called Starcross Comics, and that kind of kept me going with it. And then that leads us up to the pandemic, and that gave me time to really kick things in a little bit more. Well, actually, before that, I found out that the people were actually buying my book because I'd made two, and I didn't think anyone was going to buy it. And then one day I get a message from the publisher. It says, "Hey, I need your payment information." I'm like, "What do I owe? How much money do I owe you?" And he's like, "No, I owe you money." I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh,
that's
really?"
nice.
I'm thinking it's a couple bucks, right? You know, like $5 or $6, whatever. And he said, "The book's selling pretty good, so you might want to think about making another one." And he sent me money, and there were 3 numbers before the decimal point. I mean, the first one was a 1, but I mean, it was,
It
but
doesn't
still,
matter, dude. That's
but
3
still.
numbers before the decimal point.
I know.
That's
I was
awesome.
freaking out. It was the first time that ever happened to me, right? And I was like, and I come in, I
Feels
was like,
good.
I go, "Oh, I am a professional comic book artist." That's what, you know, because in your head, you know, if you get paid for something, that makes you professional, right? So I just took that little bit of lie to myself and celebrated, and I took that money. We went out to eat that night, is what we did. We were pretty excited. So yeah, so that you know, I kicked it back up, started drawing them again, and getting going, and yeah, then the pandemic happened, and all kinds of fun stuff after that.
Dude, it's just a crazy freaking time period that I care not. Here's the thing, my kids don't even know what the hell that was. My kids will still, "Mom, Dad, what's COVID?" And we're like, "It's a cold that everybody got stupid about." So
Yeah.
Mine was a teenager during it, and a late teenager who didn't get to do graduation or prom because of the lockdown stupidity.
I didn't do prom because prom is gay, and I didn't do prom.
Girl, Royce.
I almost didn't get to live because of the vid. You know?
That's not a good thing. That's dark.
Yeah,
That's
it got real dark real quick.
yeah. So I'm gonna do this thing. How about hybrids, the sons of gods?
There you go. Hybrids
so-
and Sons of
Great
Gods.
segue.
Yeah, man, this is a fun project. This is like a passion of mine. I've been working on this thing since early 2000s. I never really knew what I wanted to call it. I knew I wanted to do something with it. It all started because I was having this conversation with a friend of mine who was he was the associate pastor and the guy that got me into ministry. And after youth group stuff, functions at the church, he and I would talk about the weirdest things in the Bible. And we would always find our way back to like Genesis chapter 6. And I got so obsessed with the idea of these creatures called the Nephilim. And I started researching.
And they are only mentioned twice, I believe.
Twice. So they're mentioned, 3 times actually. So
it is.
So they're
Where's the third one?
well, they're mentioned in Genesis when it talks about
Yeah.
them happening.
Yeah.
They mention that Goliath is one of them.
Yes.
And then they're mentioned again when Joshua kills the last king of them, the last of the Nephilim. So Joshua actually goes out. Yeah, he's charged with killing the last of them. Yeah. So 3 places they're mentioned in here. Yeah. Really. So I was completely obsessed with it. But I started doing a lot of this research and realizing that these Nephilim, every single religion has some kind of reference to this happening, right? And for that to happen,
All
something
of them.
all of them. So something had to happen.
It's the flood story too. Like all of
Right,
them. Happened.
all of them.
Like it happened. It's
And yeah. And so there was this other kind of thing that was going to lay in. As I was looking through, I also noticed that a lot of the stories that you hear about some Nephilim creatures sound an awful lot like different mythological creatures. And so I started putting this thread together, and I was like, oh, buddy, check this out. Jeff,
he's
check
got
this
the
out.
cork board back here.
I do.
He's
I
like,
got.
"No, you
I'm like, it's it's aliens. I'm like, no, it's not aliens. It's Nephilim. And I figured
It's
out that
all connected.
it's all connected. That the pyramids and mythology and Greek mythology, Norse mythology, all of these different Syrian mythology, all of
okay.
it is connected
Give me 2 seconds.
to Genesis chapter 6.
I need you to send me the link to where I can post in the chat right now to where people can go buy hybrids.
Sure.
I need a link.
Well, it's really easy. You can go to fundmycomic.com.
Oh, you can go to fundmycomic.com.
Yes, and just search hybrids in the explore page.
Oh,
It's just right there.
Well, that's
It's so easy.
it's so
It's so simple.
Okay, I'm sorry, you
live search too.
literally
I like
touched
that.
a nerd bone that the Nephilim are something that I don't think people talk enough about.
There we go.
It was
Oh, you got it.
But you don't even understand. It's not just the Nephilim. All right, so here, aliens. There's no such thing as like outer space aliens. This is all Nephilim. The reason why there was the flood was to get rid of Atlantis. The Atlanteans are still there, man. I mean, think about this. It is recorded when Columbus comes a sailing across the sea, talking about the candle coming up out of the ocean, traveling along beside the ship, and then going back down into the sea. They found underwater runways. Why the hell would they need underwater runways?
I love you. Wait, what?
Blowing your mind
No.
here, right?
No, I like that you're actually telling a story about this because nobody does that. This is awesome. Hey,
So yes, this is the
Very
world that I'm
obvious.
building. This is
Read
the world
my
that I've
book.
been building now. I'm nine
only
issues
80
in.
It's only 81% funded.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And you
All
know
right.
why? I'll tell you why.
Why?
Well, we can get into that story a little bit more, but just to touch on a little bit, I started a website because I wanted to make comics be left the hell alone.
Oh yeah,
And it turns out that a
other
lot of
thing,
people
not,
wanted to do that.
Not the awesome Nephilim story, the website thing. Yeah.
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 Every time I would try to go promote, oh, well, you did this on your own website, right? You're doing this, I'm like, yeah. So yeah, it kind of, and it was on the heels of this really big project we did called Rift Riders, which did really, really well. And we launched like right away. And
Gee, that's not
this has a role-playing game involved with it, and I didn't know how to market it. So I marketed it first as the role-playing game with the trade paperback with it, and then I screwed up. I dropped the ball. So
Hey, at least
anyway.
you're man enough to admit it.
yeah. So anyway, with the whole Nephilim thing, we create this world, but I didn't want to just tell this story about what's going on in this universe. You know, I mean, we work in all these different conspiracy theories. We're talking about, you know, Bohemian Grove is involved in this. We have a drug called
Guys, I'll be
Red
right back.
Cape. Okay.
You can
I-
keep going.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
apologize. I just got.
I was just going to wait for him. I was just going to sit here.
No, I'll
in
be right
dead
back.
silence.
Yeah,
and wait.
everybody sit here in total
Make it
silence.
as awkward as
There-
possible.
There.
Read the chat. My wife left a chat. I gotta go. I'll be right back.
Yep.
All right.
So keep talking.
So anyway, yeah, I'm not saying aliens, but you know, so it's kind of, but so we have this drug called Red Cape, and it's basically adrenochrome, but it's not just any adrenochrome. It's adrenochrome that's harvested from these Nephilim, these hybrid characters, at point of peak stress. So it gives you like a temporary surge of power, you know, of like kind of whoever it came from. So yeah, so it's like this, but only rich people can afford this stuff, right? So I'm like, we're talking about dignitaries, world leaders, and I mean, this thing goes deep and wide, my friends. It's huge, and so we're creating this whole world, and I didn't want to just spell out this big world with no real plot, right? So I really spent some time thinking about that aspect of it, and I realized that human trafficking really matters to me. Like I think about that kind of stuff often.
Same.
You know, and what happens to people, these innocent people. And so we started working that in as a theme, and we jump into this big ocean of conspiracy and mythology with just this little tiny spot in Franklin, Tennessee, where we meet a guy that's getting ready to get abducted, and someone stops the abduction. He finds out that they're stopping abductions so that they can find out who's taken this guy's family. His wife and his daughter were taken. And he doesn't have any powers. He's just a former pastor who's, you know, lost his church because he has a drinking problem, you know. And so him and his friend who's in a wheelchair, they're just trying to get his family back. And so he's, in the process, he's wound up saving some people that were about to get abducted. And they've decided to help him. And that's kind of what the whole first arc is about. And then we introduce that there's more going on, and I'm getting ready to do 10, 11, 12. And once 12 gets wrapped up, we're going to open up an entire other list of baddies that we have to deal with. And we are expanding the universe well beyond Tennessee. It's going to go global with this thing. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And I've been working on it for a while. And in 2020, I partnered up with a guy named Nick Tockard who developed the game engine. Holy cow. I just saw the chat. That's bad. Okay.
Yeah.
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 That's rough.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Like
So we may be in this configuration for a little bit. So I'm
Yeah.
real sorry, Luke.
We
you
no,
don't have,
no, this
uh,
is fine. No, this is fine.
I was going to say,
Royce
Royce never
guys,
gave us the
if you see the
powers
chat,
to change
you-
things, but that's perfect. And Royce,
No.
if for whatever reason you're on here, do not come down here.
No,
and handle
no, do
that.
not. No,
you,
you
go do
handle
your
that.
thing. And
Yeah, we can
will,
handle this.
Just leave the stream going, and whenever
Yeah,
it
we
ends,
can
it ends.
Look, we can
So,
talk about comics pretty simple here.
Yeah.
Guys, if you read the chat and you see that and you pray, you should pray.
Mhm.
Pray for
Yeah,
them.
say a prayer.
Say a prayer for them.
Fortunately,
This is it.
broken
It's-
arms are
cross your
usually
fingers and your toes.
those are unpleasant, but
They're very unpleasant, and right
not
at
life
the
threatening. So, but that's it's
not
still
life-threatening,
very
but
difficult.
still.
So take that.
Yeah.
That is top
and it
priority.
depends on how bad the break is, on
Mhm.
how painful that can be. So, wow. So I was saying something. I just got okay. Let me get back on track there. I'm like the dad in me is like I'm worried about his daughter. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's way more important than this.
Yep.
So, anyway, yeah. So I wanted to actually tell a story, and so we started working on that. And in 2020, we developed this role-playing game to go with it, and that's when I kind of branched out from Starcross Comics, and that is when life really started to get interesting. In 2020, I left Starcross, started my own company again called Terraform Comics. I partnered with a couple of people that were supposed to be like-minded, but I had a guy that was just an insane narcissist and egomaniac and a complete compulsive liar, and who was a part of it that pretty much torpedoed that entire project. And so I wound up leaving that and teaming up with Arrow Comics, Randy Zimmerman. And one of the things that came of that, the reason why, is because Hybrids was doing really good, and Randy wanted to kind of bring that into the Arrow universe that we were doing. But we also had a company called Liberty Distribution that was that had told us, and I was the last creator to come on. It was myself and 7 others, and it was 9 total titles. But it told us that he had a distribution deal lined up with Spencer's to put in 9 different indie books in 60 stores across the East Coast as a test market. And it was spelled out pretty well. But, as we were getting deeper and deeper into it, contracts kept getting pushed off, so we never actually got to see contracts, sign contracts, things like that. Well, we were supposed to go to New York to do a big thing for a launch, and that turned out to be a bust. But a couple of weeks before that happened, that was in August of 2021. Well, in August of 2021, I wound up getting sick with COVID. I got the Delta variant, and I got very, very sick. I was in the hospital for 15 days, and on the 30th of August, I really thought that I was taking my last breath. I was saying I was saying my goodbyes to my family, basically. The doctor said that if I did not agree to go down and be ventilated and be put in the ICU in a coma, that I would certainly die in the hospital room that I was sitting in. And I said, well, what are my chances if I go down now? And he said, about 5%. So I text my wife, because I can't talk hardly, because I can't breathe. And I say, I think I'm gonna go down to the ICU. I think it's what I should do. And she goes, if you think so. I didn't tell her what the doctor told me, because I did not want her to freak out. And so the nurses, when I agree, the nurses all come in. I mean, there's doctors and nurses and triage, all kinds of people just run around, and equipment. And it freaked me out. I mean, it was scary. And they bring up this, my phone so I can talk with my family. And I only have enough strength and voice to squeak out 2 phrases. I say, I love you, and pray for me. That's all I can say. Those are 2 things I can say. And they finally said, okay, we have to hang up. And so when they hung up, I thought that was the last time I was ever going to see my family again. And I told the doctor, I said, please don't let me die. And he goes, I will not make that promise, Mr. Stone. And I'm like, dude, lie to me. Just freaking lie to me at this point. But no, he's like, I will not make that promise, Mr. Stone. And so I was terrified as the lights went out, And I can still remember all of the COVID dreams that I had while being sedated. At one point, I thought I died. I wasn't here anymore. I was somewhere else. I was smelling it, touching it, hearing it. There is a great comfort as a pastor who preached about things in Scripture for as long as I did. And to get there and see it with your own 2 eyes and know that it's real. I'll just say that. And to hear the voice of the person that I call my Savior was an experience that I don't want to get into too much here, because I know it's kind of heavy. It's kind of a heavy topic for comic books. But
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, but that was kind of this really insane moment in my life. It's not a dream. It's more of a memory, really. Mm-hmm. And I really did not expect that I was going to make it. Like, I thought at that point I was dead. I mean, I'm standing there. I see these gates. I see this massive city, the beauty, colors that exist that don't exist here. Just some. I mean, I could still smell it and feel the air. The air was cool, and it was, beautiful. And I reasoned that I was dead. I was like, okay, well, I must be dead. But long story short, while I'm trying to get into this city, trying to figure out how to get in that party that was going on, I wind up encountering this guy, and he tells me to keep walking. And so I'll get emotional if I talk about it. But so long story short, I keep walking. I go and I wake up. And so I wake up in the hospital on October 8th, October 8th, no, 6th, October 6th of 2021. So if you're doing the math, that is the entire month of September. I was asleep. I became a real life Green Day song. They woke me up when September ended. But when I woke up, it turns out that it was very, very difficult for them to keep me alive. I really tried my best to die. And so at one point they had to stop feeding me because I kept vomiting. No food would stay down.
Yeah.
And so they didn't want me to aspirate, because if I would aspirate, I'm surely dead. But I was kind of big, so I had some weight to lose. But I wound up losing a total of 85 pounds.
Oh.
And all of my muscles had atrophied. I had to relearn how to walk, talk, breathe on my own, swallow, all that kind of stuff. The doctors, were completely surprised that they did the Hail Mary stuff, right? They're like, if this doesn't work, nothing's going to work. And so they actually at one point let my wife and daughter start coming in to see me. They wouldn't let my son in because he was too young. But they let them come in and start seeing me because they thought I was going to die. I was one of 6 people that made it out of the ICU at this hospital. There's over 200 there at this hospital in Jacksonville. And it was rough. So they said, well, before I left the ICU, the doctor looked at my wife, and I was laying there. When you can't talk, you're trached and all this stuff, and you're basically an invalid. They don't talk like you're in the room.
You're an object at that point.
Yeah, you're furniture, And so I listened to this guy tell my wife that, your husband, he's never going to breathe again on his own. It's very unlikely. His lungs have received so much damage, and it's likely that he'll never be able to breathe again on his own without the help of a vent. And I said, but we're going to send him to this one place, and they're number 4 in the country of being able to get people off the vent, but they're also like number 1 for people dying that shouldn't die, So it was kind of a crapshoot. But they wound up sending me there, and I had to relearn how to breathe on my own. That was really rough, and so we did that. Once I finally got off the vent, they said, well, he's never going to walk again. In fact, they told my wife that I'd probably have to be at a nursing home, probably, because I would be too much concern for her. At any point, I'm thinking my wife, okay, she's going to leave me, because quite honestly, I would leave me. I'm not that good looking, and I'm certainly not that talented. So, there's no point in sticking around with the guy, that's going to be stuck in a bed forever. But I didn't like those reports at all. And so I was determined that I was going to work. And there was one thing that Christ told me while I was there. And he only said the one thing, the 4 words, Luke, just keep walking. And I kept thinking, well, if that's, he had like me there. I was dead, and he sent me back. So why, just keep walking? What does that even mean? And so I just took that as kind of a mantra, that I would just put one foot in front of the other, like the what was that? The Burgermeister or whatever, Mr. Heatmeister or whatever, just put one foot in front of the other song. Yeah. And so like that stupid Christmas song would go through my head, and I was like, well, what's the next step? What do I got to do? And so they said, well, you've got to be able to breathe. So first step is trying to do it 20 minutes on your own. So that was like the big thing. And so every time, every little victory was a victory. And I understood just kind of what it was, Mr. Winter. And I understood what they were, okay, this is what the goals are. And then it was trying to stand, and then it was trying to walk. And, against all odds, I am off of oxygen. I am walking, and After 5 months of being gone, being out of the house, in January, mid-January of 2022, I get to come home. And so, what a joy, every day is a gift. I shouldn't have had any more. And so every day has been a gift to me. And so I get back into the swing of things, start getting back into the swing of things. Prior to that, in November, I was finally able to get on the phone, but it turned out that Randy Zimmerman also got sick with COVID and went in the hospital, and they had to revive him twice. And his story is almost identical to mine. He was a little better off with lungs and voice and things like that, but for a while I didn't even have a voice. It's why I sound so ASMR now. I used to be able to play guitar and sing. I can't do either one of those things anymore. I was actually darn good at guitar and singing, but can't do either one of those anymore. Got a lot of nerve damage in my left arm, so it's I can't make a full fist or whatever. It's kind of crazy, but yeah. So it was nuts. Hey, he's back, which I wouldn't be if I were you.
Everything all right?
I'd be with.
She's at the ER with the kiddo now. It was the 4th of July barbecue, and the trampolines were involved.
Oh
my.
jeez.
Yeah, so I've got my phone here. She'll keep me updated, so I may be in and out more.
That's
than
fine. Man.
usual.
Yeah,
We're
But
just
no,
talking Luke.
Nope, I have been listening to I've been listening as I've been sitting here, texting with my wife. So, but no, dude, that is an unbelievably insane story, and I do not want to cut you off where you're at.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so Randy was going through the same thing, and so one of the things, we're in hospital beds, literally in hospital beds, and the other publishers that were involved with this Liberty Distribution thing to go to Spencer's, they said, guys, we really, if you're well enough, we need to talk. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I want to find out where we're at on this, because this is my livelihood. I'm thinking, I'm gonna die, but we have this distribution deal, and I have the books done, and so they can keep publishing my books, and all of that money can go to my family in my absence, right? And so, but now that I'm gonna live, I can probably use this money for other things. And it turns out that when we had this meeting, they were like, "This is all a farce. Like, we're being grifted. They're lying. There's nothing going on." And so it became this big fiasco, and it kind of swept through the Comicsgate community. People hearing about it, and because there was a couple of us that were Comicsgate affiliated in that deal. And so when I get home, I know that I've got a busted distribution deal. I've got, Randy and I have a bunch of books and a lot of money that's been on the line, and we have to try to recover. And he decides he's going to keep Arrow Comics going. And I said, well, if you do that, I want to stick around and keep doing this too. My first Sunday back at church, I realized that 5 months being away from the church was not good, and we didn't do well, and the church was not going to make it, that we were probably going to have to close things down. So I started thinking I need to figure out how to make an income for myself trying to do these comics, because I'm not well enough to work anywhere else. So of all the things I lost, I didn't lose the art. I actually got better at the art, and I didn't practice at all. I couldn't hold a pencil for like most of it. I was too weak to literally hold a pencil until December. So I think I drew twice in December, and then I didn't draw again until January when I got home. And it just came back like never before. And so I started doing that. But I saw what was going on with all of the shadow banning and what was happening to conservative voices in the media and things like that. And I was like, this is not going to work out well, because I'm pretty conservative and outspoken. I'm really a libertarian, but because of my Christian beliefs, I lean pretty, I lean pretty conservative, I guess. And I knew it was not going to look good for us, so I wanted to be able to crowdfund and not be silenced, not be canceled. So I was like on this crusade to be uncancelable and not put my future in someone else's hands, like what had just happened with this Liberty deal. I was like, forget this. if I'm going to lose, it's going to be because I've bet on me and not somebody else. I'm sick of people taking advantage of what I do to try to make money off of and exploit it. I'm going to exploit my own talent for a change, you know? So let's work on that. And I said, why not? I didn't have any fear. I mean, you know, if we fail, it's only money, right? It's, if it doesn't work, whatever, I'll just try something else. I shouldn't even be alive right now. So why not just give it a shot, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's like-
I just,
Man, I bet on life and almost lost. What's betting on money after that?
yeah, just try it. You know, they said, look, I had to relearn how to breathe on my own. How hard can starting a website be? You know, so I started like thinking of all these things, and I looked into, you know, doing my own. And I just wanted to do it for me, because basically the whole point was I wanted to make my comics and be left the hell alone. I didn't want to be canceled or anything. And so I started looking into building a website, and I didn't like WordPress, and I didn't think WordPress was secure enough for what I really wanted to do. And, you know, because I know I'm going to tick someone off eventually. And I don't want someone to try to come after me, you know, hack me or whatever. So security was a big deal for me. And I didn't really like Shopify because it's not real friendly with plugins. But I wound up finding this white label company that makes an infrastructure, and then you could pay them to, if you imagine it, they can code it for you. And they're really good, you know. So I liked what they did. I tried out their base hosting stuff. And this was just so that I could run a plugin on my own website. And I crowdfunded a book, and it funded, and I printed it and shipped it. It was the remastered first volume of Hybrids that's available right now in the bundle that I've got over on Fund My Comic. And so we did that one. And then, you know, someone said, Luke, what you got here could be used for more than just you. I go, yeah, I know, but maybe I'll let my friends. I don't really care about, you know, it'll be a headache to help everybody. You know, because you got to get lawyers and banks and all that kind of stuff involved. It'd be a real pain in the neck. And I really didn't want to do that. I just wanted to get back to, you know, making comic books. I was having fun with that. And so, but as it would have it, there was a lot of other people that really wanted to be able to make comics and be left alone too, and not be canceled. And so some friends talked me into looking into open this up, and that's when Todd Altmans came along, and he partnered with me, and we put hard-earned money into it. I got a pretty sizable severance from the church when the church closed. They tried to take care of me, and we used that. A big part of that is seed money to start this website, and we launched.
In a way, in a very roundabout way, and I want people to listen to this, because I don't talk about this very often. Miracles happen every single day.
Every day.
But because we're not watching someone get risen from the dead, we're not watching water turn into wine, we don't view them as miracles.
It's a mindset. It's not
From what I just heard, literally Fund My Comic was a gift from God. The church with the severance, with everything that you went through, with this platform that people have now, with your mindset, you as a person, all of those things had to come together in order for people to have what you're offering. And at one point, you were staring God in the eyes, and he said, nope. Nope.
Go back.
Go back. You're not done yet.
I thought I was going to come back and, you know, things were going to like go off at the church and be awesome, but that's not what it was. And I just kind of felt very compelled that this is what God wanted me to do. So I often joke that, you know, I'm on a mission from God. And really, honestly, I wanted to make sure that Christian voices could continue. Yeah, we're on a mission from God. I just wanted to make sure I almost went in the accent full time. I wanted to make sure that Christian voices wouldn't be silenced. And so part of what Todd and I wanted to do is make sure that no voices could be silenced with Fund My Comic. But I also believe that, you know, this is part of what I'm doing is this is going to fund a ministry that I feel very called to, called Nerd Word, in which we will send people to just, you know, be the hands and feet at conventions. You know, one of the things when I started doing conventions again, people found out I was a reverend, you know, that I'm Pastor Luke, and people would start, you know, asking me questions, and I'd wind up doing a lot of I wound up doing a lot of ministry while at a convention, you know, doing pastoral care. So somebody else would have to watch the table while I'm off, you know, talking with someone, counseling, praying, whatever. And I realized that there's really a need for this, for someone to be there to listen and offer wisdom and encouragement, and just to be a friend for people that really feel like they're friendless, you know, in these environments. And so, you know, I wanted to do this, and I kind of felt like these were opportunities that would fund my livelihood so that I could then fund these things, you know, kind of be a conduit for money to those things. So that's really at the core of what I'm doing. It's kind of where my heart's at. But yeah, I kind of feel like I'm on a mission from God with it. And it's here because he didn't let me stay.
Never, right? He's like, hey, man, you're not done yet. You got,
Yeah.
Never feel bad for saying that, man. I've told people many times on my channel that I got the tap on the shoulder years ago, and God said, you need to gather a community. Yesterday.
Yeah.
What?
What are you waiting on?
And that was it. I don't know. I don't. Okay, can I get a hint of where I'm supposed to gather this community? Can anything? Can you? Nope. But I'm not the planner. I'm not one of God's planners. I'm a construction worker. I work with my hands. I build things from the ground up. I don't mind getting dirty. I am proof positive. I am not the type of person. I am not afraid to reach into the fire and pull someone out. I might get burned while I do it, and it's dangerous, and it's caused me some serious soul searching in the past, but that's who I am. And a couple of years ago, God was like, all right, you're ready. Build a community. That's it. That's all he said. I don't know what for. I just said, okay. And and it's nuts.
I find that normally the door, that the path presents itself to you, that he doesn't normally say exactly what you're supposed to do, but it presents itself to you. And that's how I knew about, you know, Nerd Word, that it needed to be done, because other people said, you need to do this. I started being kind of a voice of encouragement to help Christians in this industry gather together. And then also there's just been a lot of ministry opportunity with it. And so we're not really after money, guys. We're after influence, because that's what the world's after. I mean, when you think about, you know, all these movements that are devastating families right now in the world, they are going for influence.
Yep.
Like, do not think for 1 second that it is only money that these people want. They want to influence you, your kids, your future. And so we've got to fight for that same economy for influence. And so that's one of the things that I realized that we're working for and we're fighting for. And I know that, you know, part of getting influence is getting money, right? Mm-hmm. But really, a strong influence is, you know, what's going to give me a platform to tell my experience, be a witness to what happened to me, you know, standing before, like, I can tell you with 1,000% certainty, because I saw it with my own 2 eyes, that heaven is real. What Revelation chapter 21 says, that city is there. It looks as described in Scripture when John talks about it in Revelation chapter 21, when he describes the city. It is there. It's there. I've seen it. And he, the man, Jesus, is the most magnificent thing that I've ever seen in my life. Like, he is. There's not a word. There's not a word. but I know he's real. I've seen him. There's this verse that says, "Blessed are those who believe but yet have not seen."
Mm-hmm.
You're so blessed because you haven't seen. Your faith is so authentic. I'm blessed. I've seen, but you're more blessed because you haven't seen. I believe. I believed before I saw, but I can't unbelieve now. I can't be like, well, God's not real. I can't pull that, right? Someone asked, "Are you having a crisis of faith, Luke?" I said, "No, not at all. I think my faith is stronger than it's ever been in my life. I did have a crisis of ministry. I don't really care for organized ministry. I feel like it's missed the mark a lot in reaching people the way it needs to. And so I understand that I needed to take a chance on these things that I'm doing for comic books, because I also understand that gives me influence with people that God wants to reach. If we think about some of the greatest art and the greatest creations throughout our history, they have been as offerings unto God. We think about Michelangelo. We think about Leonardo. Michelangelo gave up his eyesight as an offering to God, painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Paint got in his eyes, lost his eyesight as an offering to God. An artist did that. And we go and we go to this church and we look at this beautiful offering. He wasn't a singer. He wasn't an architect. He was a painter. And that's what he did. That's what he gave. God wants to see a renaissance of art and a revival of artists again. And I believe the most influential thing that we've had in our entire world is comics and games. Look at all the movies, the millions of dollars that are being made because of a superhero movie. We have such an opportunity to influence people and to be able to give honest thought and honest direction, and to be able to share who we are and what is of value in our world through the art that we do, through art, through comics, through games, through literature, through painting, through all of these things, music. And I feel like that's where God wanted me to be. Luke, go tell your story to these people. Let them know that I'm real. Let them know that it exists. And part of that calling is being really good at starting businesses so that it can put me in a place of influence. Because there's other people that have influence and a message and a voice that need to get out there. And guess what? They're going to try to silence them. They're going to try to shut them up. If you're speaking any kind of truth, if you have any kind of faith and you're saying anything of moral value, they are going to fight it. They don't want that because it's drawing influence away from them. And we're at a place in our culture right now where it is just it's gone so far one way that people they're ready for the counterculture. They're ready for something else, for someone to say something that is normal.
What's so amazing right now is the counterculture, and I'll say this very intentionally here. The counterculture, whether intentional or not, is morality right now. And we all know that morality comes from God. There's a lot of people that don't believe, but even a lot of people, because that seed is inside of all of us, whether you openly believe or you're an atheist or whatever, but there are a lot of people out there right now that are just like, we're going too far. We're way too far. And everybody, not everybody, a lot of people right now, many people right now are like, no, pull it back. Stop.
Yeah, we got to pull back.
We've got to keep going. And it gives me hope. It gives me hope that that's the place that we're headed. And I'm a father of 4, man. Yeah. So I'm a father of 4. I need to make sure that they're taken care of, and it's not and the morals are hard work, honesty, the virtues, charity, love, compassion, the things that make you better, humility. I always tell my kids, You know, I always tell them, I was like, win with humility and lose with grace.
Yeah.
Win with humility and lose with grace, because those are some things that you don't see very often. And I see when it's inverted and people are winning and they espouse their grace, and even if they lose with humility, no, be humble when you win and be grateful when you lose, because both of those experiences are learning. And that's why I say it the way that I do. Win with humility and lose with grace. And that is so unbelievably important. And I feel that the counterculture right now is morality. And it's something that my kids, maybe my grandkids, maybe not my kids, because it's a long time to change a culture. And
It
let's
really
face
is.
it, I could be a granddad in 10 years. You know, there's a very real thing. And God, I would love it.
I'm reminded of a story about Spurgeon. Spurgeon would, heck, as someone that went to seminary, I read a lot of Spurgeon. And there was there were a couple of preachers at that time that were a little jealous, if you will, of kind of the impact that he had with people and the fame that he got, the influence that he garnered preaching the gospel. And they decided they wanted to follow him around for one day to find out what was different about him. And at the end of the day, they go back to his hotel where he's staying, and they look out the window, and he says, he goes, "You followed me all day. Now I have a question for you." He goes, "I want you to look out that window, and I want you to tell me what you see." One of them said they saw a beautiful scene, pretty trees, things like that. Somebody else said they saw, some other things. And when they turned around, they looked at him, and he was crying. And he goes, "And that's why that's why you're jealous. That's why you don't have this influence." He goes, "I see a lot of lost souls, is what I see." Right? And if we start to think about the change that needs to happen in our culture on the large, vast scale, we can't legislate change.
Mm-hmm.
But what we can do is we can impact the heart of a person. You see, we're all sinners. Like I'm chief of all sinners. I don't know if you knew this or not. I'm really good at sinning. I'm like really good at it, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I should write a book on that.
Typical
That's how
pastor.
good I am. Yeah, I am so good at that. And but the problem with that is we start thinking about, well, we need to change this and that. We start thinking on these big, large scales that we forget about the individual. And I said, this is why I don't like corporate ministry anymore, because what happened was we have that phrase, sometimes you lose the forest through the trees, right? So you can't see the big picture because of all the little things get in the way. I said I couldn't see the trees through the forest. The corporate things, the big things got in the way, and I lost track of the individual relationships that were really so vitally important. And that is where the real change in the heart happens, is building relationships and discipling people, right? So I understand that God's going to bless Fund My Comic and Iron Age Distribution, and that anybody that steps onto that and supports that, either just by using the service or by financially supporting it in any other way, that yes, it is a business and it is for profit, but through that, I have a mission to see God's work done. So it is, I don't think it's sacrilege to say that God calls people to do business so that they can impact the kingdom of God. I don't believe that's sacrilege. In fact, I think we see that there's a lady named Phoebe in the New Testament who financed the ministry because she was so good at business. She was wealthy. She financed Paul's ministry when he was out on the road. I mean, she financed churches. We see this over and over and over again. And so I really believe that, I know this has kind of gotten very heavy, very poignant for a comic book conversation, but I believe
it's not a comic book conversation. This is a Luke Stone conversation.
But my heart is always on Jesus, so it's never going to. Every conversation I have always kind of comes back around to him because, like, I'm in love with that guy. Yeah.
So it's almost been 1 year. I'm working at a job, and we're going to do the cigar stream in a couple weeks. You heard about that. So I get done doing this YouTube video talking about Eric July's ISOM. So what's the point, and does it matter? Right? Still the highest viewed video on the channel. And I am stressed to the nines. I mean, I carry stress in my chest, which is not the place you want to carry it, right?
No.
I can feel my left arm tighten up quite a bit. There's probably a chance I've had minor heart attacks already. I'm stressed to the nines at this job. I know I need to get away from it. And I'm laying down in bed at night, and I'm like, God, I'm like, tell me what to do. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'm miserable at this place. And I'm like, my options are, I can just try to change jobs and go somewhere else. Right? I could stay in this job. If that's what you want me to do, I'll stay in this job. I don't care how miserable it is. I'll stay in this job. And I'm saying this prayer openly as I'm laying down in bed, and I'm again, chest tight. It's a Thursday night, right? It's a Thursday evening. And I'm like, I can try to start my own business. And the business that I had in my mind was a very different business. It was a home inspection business. I actually went and I, learned about home inspection and all that, and
it's not a bad business.
And I said, or I can, as a joke, I threw out the YouTube thing. I do need to go. This is a phone call I've been waiting for. Give me just
go for it.
No, do your thing, man.
Yeah.
I'll take a moment here because I'm somewhat inspired by what Luke's been saying. I became Catholic over Easter, so I've only been an actual, Catholic and not just a catechumen for a couple of months. But I did the full gamut of what they now call OCIA, what used to be RCIA, in order to learn everything. And I was doing that as I started my coaching and services business for writing. And one of the things that my mother and I sat down and talked about was, what was the goal? What was the purpose of starting this business? Was it to make money off of writing? Was it to sell your books, which I knew was never going to be something that I could actually rest on? And I said, I just want to help people. I want to help people create things. And then got involved in the Iron Age movement. So I feel what you're saying, Luke, because when I took a look at what I could afford to charge for the things that I do, I could have done what everybody else does and charged thousands of dollars or $700 or whatever to edit a novel and take 6 months to complete it and make people sit around and wait. Or I could devote as much of my time as I possibly could and make it off of what I charge, which is vastly lower. It's sort of frowned upon to say these things, but I only charge $250 to edit a full-size novel at $80K and up.
Cheap.
It doesn't matter. Yes, it's cheap, and it's cheap on purpose, because this is what I want to do. I want all of these people in these communities that we have going here that put out stories of moral value and parable lesson and real things that make people critically think about the world that they're in. I want their stuff out there, and I want it to be as great as it possibly can be to get the most people entertained, interested, and involved in it.
I'm going to say something that's going to make you and hopefully everyone watching considers something that maybe you haven't before.
Shoot.
Have you ever noticed that people like to make things?
Oh yeah, all the time.
They either like to build or write or cook.
Mm-hmm.
They basically what they do is they want to take things that don't exist and make them into things. Scrapbooking, crafting, those kind of things. That's because that is the one trait from our Father that we all have. He's a carpenter. He builds. He gave Noah exact dimensions on what to build the ark. For the temple, he gave exact. I mean, he's a carpenter. When he came and wrapped himself in flesh, what did he come back to? What did he do? He was a carpenter. He built things. He was a creator of things. In John 1:1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that all things were made through him, and by him, and that without him nothing was made."
Mm-hmm.
And then it says that Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and that he is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but through him. That is the crux of the gospel, right? For God so loved the world.
Mm-hmm.
But John 1:1, John goes back to the beginning. It's like what he said, well, go back to, how far back in your story do you need to go? John went further back than the birth because he understood that Jesus was the one that spoke the very words that created the stars. He was the creator of all things. So he was the one that must redeem all things. And let me tell you this. So I wasn't really going to get into this too much, but so as I'm standing at the city, I need to tell you this. I'm trying to get in and I'm mesmerized. I can smell lemongrass, honeydew, and occasionally there's a waft of some cinnamon thing on the air. It smells amazing. And there is noise inside these massive cities. As I've been standing at the wall, I look up, the wall extends off into the sky, into the horizon point, the vanishing point, and I can't see the end of it. Same way to the left, to the right. It's the biggest thing. It's like a giant cube. And these big pearlescent gates are massive, 3 on each side. And as I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this, I feel like there's a presence behind me. So I turn around and I look, and about 300, maybe about 100 yards away from me, 300 feet away from me, there's a small hill and there's a dogwood tree with pink blossoms on it. I remember that very clearly. And there's a guy standing underneath it. And I remember laughing because it looked like one of those old Renaissance paintings when they put the little circle around the head. Mm-hmm. There's this guy standing, and I can't quite see his face at the front of him because it looks like the sun is behind him. And the light is it's sitting right off behind his head. And so it's like that I can see the edge of his garment. It's white. There's some gold thread down the leg that's kind of sparkly, whatever. And so I'm kind of trying to squint, see this guy. And he says 4 words to me. He said, "Luke, just keep walking." Mm-hmm. And right away when I heard that, I recognized the voice. I knew who this was. I knew this was the one who had said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This was that voice. And the words hit me, and it scared me. It really did scare me, guys, because I thought that I was being rejected because he said, "Just keep walking. There's a party in there, and I can't get in." I'd been spending, I don't know how long, trying to find an open gate on this city, and there wasn't one. And that party in there was supposed to be for me, and I couldn't get in. And so I started to freak out because I think I'm dead, right? So this can't be my eternity. I'm flipping out, and I was I was overwhelmed because I thought, well, what did I do? Why can't I? What did I do? And then, God, just this shame. What didn't I do? And I just felt everything that I had done wrong. And I was like, well, of course, why would I be allowed in? And guys, I'm snotting up bad with it. I'm losing. I'm about to fall out. And then I hear the Holy Spirit speak to me, which surprised me because if you're dead, as a theologian, whatever that means, I'm an idiot. But as someone that's has understood a rudimentary bit of theology in my day, or been taught it anyway, this I understood that if I'm in heaven and if I'm dead, I don't need the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's on earth. So why am I hearing the Holy Spirit? I must not be dead. So my body must still be somewhere, like where the Holy Spirit can speak to me. And so I try to say, excuse me, and I can't. I'm trying to like pull myself together, and I'm doing a very poor job of it. And I try to say, excuse me, but I can't even get words out. But it was like he heard me anyway. And he said, Luke. He slows down. He goes, Luke, just keep. And then he lowers his voice. And like there's some bass to it. And he goes, walking. And I swear you could see the word like a wave of energy move the grass as it came towards me. And it hit me, and there was this warmth of power. And I remember feeling, number one, like I don't belong here anymore, like I don't deserve this, but at the same time feeling so incredibly welcome, like there was no other place that I should be. It was the oddest thing, this understanding that I don't belong here, but here I am. And but as the Holy Spirit spoke, so what happened? This Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, my sheep know my voice and they will follow no other. That's what changed my mind. That's what pulled me out of it. And I was like, wait a second, Holy Spirit spoke to me. If I understand that that's his voice, because I can't see his face, he didn't say, hey, guy, I'm Jesus. Like, I only recognize him by his voice. So that means I'm a sheep. And then the Holy Spirit said it again, but changed the word, said, my children know my voice and they will follow no other. I'm like, okay, I'm his kid. He can't be rejecting me. So then I took that, but I understood in that moment that his words, his voice, he's gentle because he has to be, not just because he wants to be, but he has to be. You see, he could have ended me if he'd have wanted to with a whisper. Like, that's the kind of power that we've got here. This is the God that we serve. This is the power that we have here, this word. And so this creator that can create with his words, he has imparted into each one of us the desire to build, the desire to make and create.
Yep.
And that's why that there's a world of people out there that are depressed, they're hurting, they're lonely, they're confused, they're lost. And they're trying to find everything else. And medical doctors that only want hormone therapy, billions of dollars of hormone therapy for a lifetime. These people they don't want you to be better. They want you to be dependent on them. Everybody, that's all these people want, is to have influence and control over you for the rest of your life. But I know someone that wants to offer hope to you and peace to you. The only way that you can find that is through relationship with Jesus Christ and confronting your sin and who you are and accepting him, right? So in this process, I understand that nothing speaks to people better than the arts.
Mm-hmm.
So why did God call Daniel Riley to be involved with editing and arts, and then also call him into the fold and accept him as one of his own? Why did he do
I thought
that?
about that too.
Why did he do that? It's pretty clear why he did it.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah,
Now I work with everybody because that's the way I am.
And I like this conversation. So before I updates on the kiddo, and I will give those here in a few.
Don't keep us waiting.
But it's what I was saying earlier is I had these options in front of me. Lay down in bed, chest is tight, and I'm like, God, what do I do? Do I keep my current job? Do I change jobs? Do I start my own business in home inspection? And as a joke, I was like, or, I did this YouTube video tonight. Like, maybe I could do the YouTube thing.
Right.
And I couldn't sleep worth a crap that night. It was bad. And so I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I get up and go to the bathroom. I'm laying down in bed, and I'm like, I was like, wow, I don't know why it was on my mind. So I was like, well, I'll check YouTube, the studio app that I have on my phone. So I click. My eyes are still blurry. I'm so tired. I've been up for 5 minutes at this point. But I'm still blurry. So tired I am, and the phone's sitting there, and it's I get these wallet cases, so my phone's sitting there like this, right? And the YouTube Studio app doesn't turn. It's one way. So I just kind of look at it, and the video is like, what is this? Like 354 views. And I was like, what? That can't be right. And so I swipe down real quick, and it comes up and it says 54 views. And I'm like, okay, well that looks better. That's and so I went to go touch the screen to turn it off, and I accidentally flicked it. And all of a sudden the screen scrolls, it scrolls down, but it's sideways, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back, and I realized that when I'd swiped it and it said the 54 views, that was the video that I'd done prior. No, 354 views. My channel didn't do that. And I was like, wait, what? That doesn't happen. And over the course of the day, I watched this video. I think in the first day, I had hit almost 2,000 views on that video. And I went, and I'm literally sitting here looking at this, and my wife was going, what's happening? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, because I told, and these are my exact words, God, give me the smallest of signs, and I promise you I will bust my ass. I just need the tiniest, just tell me, do I stay in my current job? What do I do? Just, I don't need a car to hit me. I don't need something drastic to happen. I don't need just the tiniest, and 354 views. 354 views. That's what it took. And I went, okay. And I promised I will bust my ass, and that's what I have been doing since, because it is. I often pray. I often, say the Our Father before a lot of my videos. In fact, I could probably pull up a lot of videos before they're edited of me, making the sign of the cross and praying before I do my videos, because when people say, well, God's calling, a lot of people want this grandiose adventure, and it's the epic, right? It's the epic. Oh, God called unto this person. They went on the epic, and a lot of us
they want what Luke got.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they want what Luke got, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, hey, you need to spend a few hours a night putting out videos and talking about good things in order to build this community. Because here's the thing, God told me to build a community, and I didn't know. And so when I was like, God, what do I do? What and then all of a sudden the YouTube thing started happening. I went, wait a minute, really? It is. And I'm like, okay. And so now my gilded, I just looked at it, 238 people. 238. It's a community.
And then he met Richard, and then he met me, and it all went downhill from there.
Turns out God throws you curveballs once in a while. I've got both of them on stream right now. It's fine.
Now, I'll be honest with you. This whole journey has not been easy. Fear will keep a lot of people from doing what they're intended to do. Because there's a comfort in familiarity. I could have easily gone back into the pulpit. That's what I knew, but I knew that I wasn't called to go back to the pulpit. In fact, it was one Sunday morning before church started. I sat down with my leaders, and I knew that I wasn't supposed to stay in the pulpit. I did not want to be there, which is really odd for a pastor to say I did not want to do that. And I was pretty gifted at public speaking, preaching, and teaching. And it was not what I wanted to do. When I woke up, there were two things that I wanted to do. I wanted to see my wife, and I wanted to make comic books. That was all I wanted to do. That was it. And they're like, did you want to get back in the pulpit? No. Did you want to teach? No, not really. And I was like, I don't know why, that this calling wasn't there, but there was a lot of Sundays that Monday rolled around and I wanted to quit. When I was pastoring, it was it was necessary that I learned those things, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I said, God, if there's any way out of this, then let me know. I'd be happy to do it. And he opened up an opportunity for me to be able to do what I wanted to do since I was 14 years old. But through it, there's like, and I talked with my wife, we prayed about it for a long time, and Todd is another man of God, and he prayed about it. That's why I'm partners with him. I will not sign a contract with someone on a business unless they're in love with that guy like I am. Right? Because they can't understand the driving force behind it, that it's not money that we're after. It's influence that we're after. And we're after the influence, not so we can control people, but so that we can break the control of Satan for people, so that we can show them freedom in Christ, that we can show them freedom from sin, freedom from depression, freedom from all these things. That's what we're looking for. We're trying to see souls saved. That's at the end of the day, that's the only commodity that matters to Luke Stone, is how many people am I going to take up with me to those gates, because I know they're there. And so that's the only reason why I don't, I won't sign a contract with anyone that doesn't believe that way, so that I know that we're at least on the same page. We can't be unequally yoked in that. And so we prayed about this and said, this is what we're going to do. And I believe that now along the way, there's a lot of things that could have taken me off this path. There are still things that could try to take me off the path based off of fear, because starting something like this, you put your neck out there, and you get people that wind up hating you for no reason at all. I thought, hey, I'm creating an alternative for you that's taking less of your money. That was the other thing. Why take less money, Luke? Because that's what God would do. Like, we don't need that much money. Comic books is 5% of the crowdfunding market. We don't need your 5%.
Guys, I need to say this. I've got to go pick up my kids from the barbecue where said incident happened. Yes, I will give you guys an update before I go. Little one is in the ER, and I have received pictures, and it's a break. It's not even a little break. It's a break.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. And so if they are not able to set it, we may have to get sent up to a specialist that's about an hour and a half away for them to set it. From the sounds of it, she did not fall off the trampoline. She fell on the trampoline, but while trying to brace herself, the trampoline pressure pushed back against her arm. So that's from that sound. I have been told that the doctors are fawning over her, because even in the state that she's in, she has not forgotten her pleases and thank yous.
Oh, sweet.
Good girl.
So good
job, Dad. Good job, Mom.
Yeah. Thank you. So she is, she's being a big girl for us. And, I want to throw this out there. I will drop, only because I think it would make her feel better. But if there's any stickers or any little artwork that all those fantastic creators have, that because she's going to have a cast, and we all know as kids, the coolest thing on the cast is to decorate it, right?
Right.
Get signatures on it. I know I had signatures on my cast when I had mine, or as this arm right here, when I had mine. But if you guys want to send any stickers or anything like that to decorate her cast with, I'll put that link just to help her feel better. And that is a request from Dad. That's a dad request. Okay. Good. I'm sure she would be tickled pink. So I will post my wife's P.O. box in the Gilded very, very quickly. And I do want to get through some of the super chats here. I'm kind of doing this out of order just because of the way that the night has gone. But I am going to do this. And then, guys, I'm going to let you take the rest of the show. You guys keep going as long as you want. And then you guys bow out whenever I get home, I will cut the show. Richard, I'm going to try to, when I bow out, I'm going to try to give you control on the back end.
Yeah, I was going to say we could try that, and we might as well do it while you're still here. So
I don't think I can do it while I'm still here. I think I actually have to leave to do it, but that's okay. Either way, I'll be on I'll make sure it happens. But the Ultimate Kahuna for $4.99 says, and thank you so much. He says, praying for you guys. Royce, Luke, you are a blessing. All of this is mind blowing. I'm scared too, but I need to rewrite my last novel. I'm scared. Oh, he says, I'm scared too, but I need to rewrite my last novel. Yeah.
Come talk to me, Kuna, man.
Yep. Reach out. You guys can reach Daniel P. Riley on my Gilded. He's there. He's active in it
And
every
on
day,
Twitter.
at least. Yep, and on Twitter. E. Smith. This is a new name. This is somebody that I am not familiar with on the channel. I'm not sure if this person is a lurker or not, but this is a super chat. This is the first time I've ever even seen them chat. So thank you so much for the $1.99. Remember also, smoke a cigar a day to God's glory. Yeah, you know what? It might be a heavy weekend. That's for sure. Then the Ultimate Kahuna again for $1.99 says, I posted a picture on Gilded. Y'all great. Yes, he did. It's a great picture. It's all of the Iron Age authors that he has on a rack in his room. We've got Watcher of the Damned. We've got Lucent. We've got Star Shatter. I'm looking at the picture right now. So many great authors over there. My Gilded is the community I believe that God wanted me to build.
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger every day. For $2, Kikomon. He came in a little late. He's a show me, show you, Kikomon. And then Kikomon for $100.
There it is.
He says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light.
And there was light.
There was.
Yeah.
So
Did
He
it?
just went click.
he's just like, what? I always have a funny bone in my body, and I'm just like, what if God was just like, oh, thank God they finally fixed this thing. Click. All right, well, gentlemen, I'm gonna bow out for a little bit. I'm gonna hit the mute button on my stuff. I may not be able to add Richard to the stream, but guys, I should be back here within about a half hour or so. But never.
Take care of you, baby.
Yeah, I got to go get the rest of the kiddos home. I've got to go put the chickens back in the chicken coop, and I have work to do. Everybody, thank
That's not
you so
metaphorical, is it?
No, it is
No, we've
not.
got
That
actual-
is
It's like
literal.
actual
I have
chickens.
40 birds that I have to put back into the coop, so it's going to be
40
great.
birds,
goodness.
man.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, we eggs are expensive, so I grow my own eggs now.
I have
But,
a friend who grows them. So
Everybody, thank you guys so much. I am so sorry that I have to bow. Yeah, the host of the show has to bow out. But I will keep everybody up.
emergencies happen, bro.
Yes,
Yeah, totally
yes, I will keep everybody as updated as I can when I can. If you guys are wanting to know how little girl is doing, I will make sure to post in the Gilded and keep everybody updated. And like I said, I'll be dropping the PO box link if anybody has any fun stickers or anything that they'd like to send to put on her cast so she can decorate the cast and all that, because I know that made me feel it's always good to decorate the casts as kids. It's always
I got a
I'll,
bunch of chibi stickers that she would love.
oh, that'd be great.
I was gonna say when Anvil issue number 1 arrives, I'll toss some extra stuff in there for her.
There you go, man. I appreciate you guys. All right, guys, I'm out. But you guys should have an absolutely awesome show. I'll keep everybody as updated as I can. I will post the X-ray pics when I get them, Trippy. Yes. Iron Age cast. There you go, guys. All right. Later, everybody.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Fortunately, my kids have never broke a bone. Yeah,
That is very, very fortunate.
yeah.
I think
Sounds
I saw
bad.
somebody in the chat say that trampoline is French for broken bone.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's French for risk your life.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've only fallen off a trampoline a few times in my life, and
Yeah,
They
this has
were-
been a wild ride.
Yeah.
I've never broken a bone, but I have dislocated both of my shoulders, hyperextended my right knee, and essentially pulled both wrists. So I've never broken a bone, but my joints have taken a beating.
Yeah, I do understand that. That's crazy.
So
It's not fun, trust me.
So one thing that we haven't talked about yet, because we've talked about
Comics
obviously
and God.
on my comic and your current project that you've got up there, but with hybrids. But what are you doing with the Iron Age distribution? And
Okay,
is
good
that
question.
available to everybody? And or what's the status of that?
Good question. So, in the process of building this website and going through the mess of lawyers, developers, trying to make sure that everything is set up right legally, accountants, all of that stuff, I kind of got this little side idea. And one of the things that we would do when we were crowdfunding successfully was do special deals with retailers. Now, I fell in love with comic books at a retail store, at a comic book shop. Many of us did. And many of us still love going to those things. And I hate the fact that because of what the quote-unquote mainstream has been doing, we see that their sales in comics have gone down in many of these comic book shops. See, I do a show on Thursday morning on my YouTube channel called Nerd Bacon, and one of the things that we do in Nerd Bacon is we cover industry news and gossip, basically. So we will talk about that a lot. Randy Zimmerman has been publishing comics since the early 1980s and has been in Diamond and around Diamond and all these other things, his whole life. He was a shop owner at one point, and he even did a monthly newspaper that was based around comics that went out into the Flint, Michigan area. So we use a lot of his experience, and then kind of my experience with kind of crowdfunding and things like that in the rest of our panel. But we actually go through news stuff and talk about the impact of what's going on in the industry. And one of the things that we noticed popping up was that comic book shops were really, really struggling, but their numbers were being propped up by games and collectibles. And one of the top collectibles was the Funko Pops. And then Funko Pop, is going bankrupt, and they're destroying a bunch of product and everything. And now these Funko Pops, they're going, they're being clearanced out. And so the thing that was propping up the business isn't there anymore, not going to be there anymore eventually, And so we're seeing these problems. And it really bothered me because I know that we had a lot of success doing independent comic books at shops that were indie friendly, right? And we thought for the longest time, the industry was predicated on you follow the path, you get your book in previews, and then the shop owner has to guess whether or not to take a chance on you that in 3 months, when your book actually gets in their store, that it's going to resonate with the fan.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is they don't normally take a chance on the green section because of that, because you don't know. They've lost a lot because of it, and they don't have the luxury of taking chances. But what if we did that in reverse? What if we said, look, these books have already been very successful with the crowd via crowdfunding. We already know that they resonate with the crowd, and that probably your customers at your store is going to like them too. What if we focused on reversing that model and saying, look, they were already successful. Now here's a retail version that you can sell in your store. What if we did that? And so I had this idea that, we've got all these very successful books. Many of them are graphic novels that you could easily break down into 32-page books to do in volumes. This is what we were doing for the Liberty distribution thing. That was the whole idea for that anyway. And so I was like, well, there were some good ideas in that, even though it was all a lie. Why don't we take some of those good ideas and focus on one or two of them? And in a year, maybe we can piggyback it on the tail end of Fund My Comic, because we would have proven the model, we would have proven the infrastructure, and we can use the same infrastructure to run this other business. Okay, so
Using the
let's maybe do that.
statistics as a pitch.
Right, and saying, look, here is a proven, we've already got the content, then we just needed someone to go around and sell it to the comic book shops, because we would already have the product, proven product that has already been successful. Well, we are now in our 4th month of Fund My Comic. We thought maybe by this time we would have a campaign scratching the $10,000 mark, right? We're now into 4 campaigns that have made over $10,000 in 4 months. That's one a month. It's doing this, right?
Yeah.
For a site that's brand new. I just looked at traffic today, okay? I'm going to give you guys some numbers. For those that like numbers, that are geeks like me. Let me tell you right now, we have had 19,000 views in the last 7 days. We are up 122% from last week. The average view time, the average time of engagement on the website. Now, this number may not sound big, but when you think about the average engagement on a campaign is 17 seconds, 3 minutes and 39 seconds, we're up 25% from this time last week.
Awesome.
That's pretty exponential.
We've had 2.3 thousand new viewers, new users on the website in the last 7 days.
Awesome.
Total of 3.1 thousand users on this week alone. That's the numbers that we're looking at when we look at year to date. In the last 4 months, year to date, 4 months. That's it. The growth has been ridiculous. The overwhelming response. And it's not me, guys. I honestly believe it's God showing favor on our business. I believe that, and that favor is extended through fans and people using the website. It is the people that are coming on with their platforms, with their projects onto the platform. And it is these fans that are buying these books that say, this is what we want. And they've done it so that they've ratioed people's comments. Every time one of the other companies does something stupid and woke, it is like, it is a gift. It is a gift to me. I love it. Because when someone starts complaining about crowdfunding, what happens is the fans that fund my comic go into those comment threads and ratio it, say, you've got to check it out. So it's caused so much noise that people have to pay attention to what's going on at Fund My Comic.
Yep.
And the more people that pay attention, the more people pay attention. And the more people that pay attention, it causes even more people to pay attention. And we're seeing this happen. It's kind of this influx of what's going on. And again, there's something bigger at play here. So I believe God's, favoring it. And so in the process, we're doing this. We're like, wow, we are 9.5, 10 months ahead of schedule. And someone got me in contact with this guy named Phil Avelli. Phil was working with another company, and he was working on something very similar to the idea that I had about distribution. But they weren't doing it the way that I was going to do it. So they were going to actually do physical books in a location, ship them out themselves. I worked out with my printer to print at a very low cost so we can sell at about a 50% discount on the books. And then he directly ships them to the retailers. We tested it out on a couple of orders, and it worked beautifully. So I knew it was there. We were ahead of schedule, so we could start a new website if we wanted to. But that I didn't really have the time to do that kind of myself, to take all that on myself. But I get word that this guy Phil, who was with this company, that his partners let him go because somebody complained that he liked Ethan Van Sciver's tweet. right? That he supported some Comicsgate books. And I hate it when anybody tries to vilify someone because they like that CG movement, the Nazis, right? I'm like, come on, some of the nicest people in comic books, the most diverse people in comic books I've ever met, have been in that camp. Yeah, there's some real tools over there, but guess what? There's tools everywhere. I think the hashtag comics broke me thing, I think that proved how many tools there are in comic books, right? But some of the nicest people I've ever met have been over there. And so I was like, anyone that gets canceled, I just kind of have this, this little like thing goes down my spine. I'm like, I got to talk to him. And so I wound up talking with Phil. Turns out that Phil's a man of God. He's got a heart for Jesus. And, I talk about what he's doing, and he had some great ideas. And I said, you got some great ideas, but there's a lot about that business that would have failed. Like, I don't know why I said that, but I was just, in that moment I felt, and he goes, I agree. And we're like, okay, good, we're on the same page. I said, we need to pray. We need to pray. Let's take the weekend. Let's pray about this. And if we feel like God's leading us in this direction, I'd like to write up a contract, and I think that we should do business together. There's Phil right there, Phil Baggins. And I'm super happy to be working with you. I'm happy to be working with you too. And man, it's so cool. So we had this thing. He goes, well, I got a name. He goes, I already registered the website. Because I said, I got a business idea and I've got the infrastructure. I don't have a name. So I don't know what to call it. And I said, I have the content, like the product. I can load us up with that pretty easily. But I don't have the stores to sell to. And he goes, well, I've got a name and the stores. And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to have to, we need to pray about this. And so he said he had Iron Age Distribution already registered. And I was like, I like that name.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I like that name a lot. Why didn't I register that name? I was like, well, why was I sleeping on that? I've registered a lot of names that I'll never use because they were good. And I'm like, I can't believe I slept on that one. So, but anyway, we pray over it the weekend. We wind up meeting, I think, on a Tuesday or Wednesday again the next week. And I said, I think we need to do this. He said, I think we need to do it. We drew up the contracts. We worked on branding. And right now we're working on our sales pitch, the things that we need to communicate best to the creator, to the stores. And I'm working on getting all of the legal paperwork done so that we can then start onboarding publishers onto the site. You can go to ironagedistribution.com and find the site right now. It's still being edited, so it's still work in progress. But you can, hang around and watch it as it grows, if you will.
Awesome.
And yeah, he dyed his beard. You guys talk about Ethan. Yeah, that was. We all blasted him for that. That was silly. Why dye your beard, man? He was better. He was better as a silver fox. But so we started this thing with the intent that we're going to start small and work our way into a larger market, because there's two things that we know that we want to do. We want to give retailers an opportunity not to take a chance on, but to take advantage of comic books that have already been successful in the crowdfunding realm, right? There's no chance that they're taking. They've already been successful. These books have sold. They've got a fan base already. So that that your fans, the people that go into your store, are likely to like it. And so we're actually working up on how, like the sales pitch, on how these stores can do the sale of these books to their people. Because they don't have time to do that. They don't have time to figure out how to sell every book to every customer that walks through the door.
Nope.
Well, let us do that. We're going to do that for you, right? The other thing is, we understand that crowdfunding is always going to be a large part of the modern distribution model for independent creators, for creator-owned books, right? However, we need a way to supplement that. We need to find more readers, and we need to have more. We need to be more accessible. And the best way to be accessible is to have a lower-priced version of your book, which is a retail version, that we can put into stores, comic book stores to start with, grocery stores, head shops, convenience stores, and the like.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you want me to give the puppy wants me. Here we go. Hello, puppy. Hello, puppy.
Puppers.
There she goes. Yeah, this is Chloe. Everybody, it's my daughter. It's my grandpup.
Aw.
Yeah, I'm her Pop Pop.
There
That's my
you go.
daughter's dog here. So yeah, she's a sweetheart. But there's an opportunity for us to find fans that maybe have left the market a long time ago and are ready to get back into it. One of my favorite things about my series is people will go get the first or second book and maybe they've not read comics in a long time. And that's their gateway back into comics. And it is the best feeling when you can be that gateway back into this fandom. And so I know there's a number of people that want the nostalgia of the old days, and that will they just want good books. And I know that there's shop owners out there that they just want to sell good books. They don't care about all the politics. They don't care about who you voted for. They don't care about who or what's between your legs. They just want good books. That's all they want. And you know what? I know a heck of a lot of people that do those. They just make really good books. I'm a Christian. I'm a former pastor. I've got my faith agenda behind everything that I do. But when I make my comic book, it's a comic book. It is got my Christian worldview in it, but it is a story. It's an entertaining story, and it does have an allegory in it. Because I like to be a lot like Tolkien or Lewis. Not that I'm on the same caliber of writer. I'm getting close, but I'm not there yet. But it's a good book, and it's going to be a great book. When you talk about someone having all those books on the shelf, you need to add hybrids on that because I think you'll really like it. I would almost give you a money back guarantee on that. Almost, not quite there yet, but almost. But I know that the reviews on that book have been amazing. And I've put everything that I've had into it, and I've worked really hard at it. And a lot of people out there do that. They work really hard, and they care about it, and they also care about their fans. So I said, why not? Like, why are we not taking advantage of having a mutually beneficial relationship between crowdfunded books and comic book stores? And so here we are. That's what we're doing next, because we understand that creators need supplementary income beyond the campaign.
Correct.
So all they got to do is put the book up, give us the print files. We'll make sure the print files are ready to go. We manage the whole thing. There is no risk to the creator whatsoever. There is no risk to the comic book store because they already know the books are selling. So they're not taking a chance. They're taking advantage. The creators are taking advantage of our infrastructure in place. And all they have to do is put them up there, and they're going to make sales that they would have never made on their own. Because we're creating the street teams and the people out there to do this. We're building a business around it. But I couldn't do that by myself. I couldn't be the one to do that. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm building this village over here with Fun My Comic. And Phil came in and he's like, this is really what I want to do. And so we became partners. And so Phil's doing a lot of that. I'm helping with that. I'm doing that. So we're kind of there's this dichotomy of business owners and businessmen that this is what we want to do. This is what we have a passion for, what we're called to. And creators can list their books. Publishers can list their books on IronAgeDistribution.com and make 25 cents a book that they sell for doing absolutely nothing. Yeah. If your book's good, you might make a whole lot of money. If it's not, you're probably not going to make very much. But even $100, $200 on a book that's already made its money, going out to people that you never had to make a contact with, somebody else did. It's a win-win situation for everybody, and it's a matter of inches in this game. A lot of times, like football, for everything, it's one new reader.
Yep.
We have plans to go to conventions and be out there with Iron Age Distribution and Fun My Comic, so that we can sell the platforms and the experience and the fandom that goes around those things. Where we have street teams that are already starting to develop, where we're sending out T-shirts, flyers, stickers, things like that. We've already got guerrilla marketing starting with the FMC little logos and people drawing with their characters holding the books. So we've got all these things going. We're going back to grassroots kind of stuff because we need to. And I've been studying a lot of marketing lately. And in 2023, that's what's happening. A lot of people are going back grassroots because that's what works.
Yep.
It's what cuts through the noise.
Correct.
You know, and so we're really working on that. We're seeing a lot of bonus in doing that right now. And yeah, so that's what's going on. So Iron Age Distribution is months and months ahead of schedule of where we thought we would even be to start the thing, let alone be ready to start onboarding thing. And some of the people that said, hey, use me as a guinea pig. Some of these amazing creators, they want to do this. So looking very much forward to listing a number of great publishers on there. Obviously, Arrow Comics is going to be on there because, you know, I'm associated with that. But we've got a lot of great creators that are going to be on there right now. And very excited. Is there a similar infrastructure available to Novelist?
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
Not yet, but there will be. We are starting with floppies because that is the infrastructure that we have in place. It is the easiest and most niche, I guess, of things to try to cut into first.
And it's like a wheelhouse thing.
It really is. We've already got that. I don't know a lot of novelists. I don't want to try to distribute books and warehouse books when, let's be honest, Random House is doing quite fine without, you know, there might be a need. A lot of novelists are doing great with Amazon distribution, but comic book artists don't have that. Comic book creators don't have that. Game creators don't have that. So we're working on what we can do with that as well. And we're going to expand. Iron Age distribution is not going to stay where it's at. It's going to start, but it's going to grow. And so that's what we're doing with it. And then I just registered fundiverse.com. So everything else that's not what you wouldn't find in a comic book shop, people have asked, hey, we really want to take advantage of the tools that you have. And we really want to take advantage of that 3% platform fee. And I said, you know what? I don't blame you. And so we're going to create a clone site that's going to be branded for fundiverse.com, Fundiverse, and Fundiverse, Verse. So fundiverse.com, so that you can, I guess if you want to make us Bluetooth lawnmower, you can fund it over there. You know, so for everything else, go there. But it's going to keep the low platform fee, and it's going to, you know, but someone asked, Luke, are you going to bring the comic books and the other stuff together? I said, no, sir, I'm not going to do that. Because comic books is a passion of mine, and I believe that comics get lost. Comics and games gets lost in the big tech of everything else. 5 to 10%. When you include games, it's just under 10% is the crowdfunding dollars on the other sites, Green and Pink, of all that they bring in. And there's some big numbers being made over there in comics and games. So that should tell you how little, how big numbers are really doing over there. And that stuff gets lost. And I don't want that stuff to get lost. I don't want it to get lost in for the fandom. Fans need to be able to go somewhere where they can trust it, where it's easy to find, it's easily accessible, and that's what Fund My Comic is. It's a digital comic book store for you. You know, where you get to go around and shop and see what's there, and anything you would find on the comic book shelf, that's what you're going to find there. Comic book store shelf. That's what you'll find there. You can actually use it as a storefront. If you don't want to do it yourself, we have a widget. We do have to do some work on the widget because we've added so many new features. The widget actually pulls from the base code and not the new codes that's been added. So now we have to have work done on the widget. And there's no point in working on the widget until we get to a point where we think that the front end, the checkout section is going to be pretty well left the way that we want it to be for a while without any major changes. And then we'll do the work on the widget. So we have a couple more things we're adding to that. Yeah, just neat features were adding all the time. And I did all this because I wanted to make my comic book and be left the hell alone. And you know what hasn't happened since I started this?
Making
I
a
haven't
comic
been
book?
able to make my comic book.
Yeah,
I've made other people's. I'm making other people's. I haven't been able to make my comic book, and I have not been left the hell alone at all. I'm everywhere. I'm always talking about this, you know, and that's why my comic is, you know, I've got two graphic novels and an RPG over there on Fun My Comic right now, and so I've got 3 major volumes, and we've done just over $2,000. Because every time I go to talk about what I'm doing and what I'm creating, the synergy and energy around the website kind of takes over the conversation, and I get it. It's perfectly human to do that, because that has the most perceived value. But when it comes to escapism and fun and just sheer entertainment, my book offers a lot of value too. And so hopefully some people will decide to add that. We are here in a few days. When the campaign ends, we are vaulting the RPG material. I mentioned earlier at the top of the broadcast that I did not do well with promoting that thing. I didn't know how to promote the RPG. So in the midst of all of the delays getting Fun My Comic started, we tried to launch on Indiegogo. That didn't go so well because it was right on the tail end of some other things. People's like, well, if you're starting Fun My Comic, why are you launching on Indiegogo? It's because I have a contract with my partner and I want to make him some money. Okay. And I don't know how long it's going to take to launch the site. People didn't want to back, so they wanted to wait. And then when we finally did it, then the website took over. And I marketed it first to be, you know, the RPG with the new trade paperback. Volume 1 and Volume 2 are out. Volume 1 already. This is the first time Volume 2 has been available. I put that as the add-on, but my marketing expertise is in comic books, not TTRPGs. And so I failed that so bad. So I couldn't reach the tabletop game market, and I totally missed my comic book market because they thought it was just for the game. They didn't realize the other thing was with it. And so now it's like, look, it's got like 12 days, 11 days left. You know, if you want the game, everybody that backs it will get the game when it goes to print next month. It's almost done. I'm still drawing the bestiary. So as soon as that's done, you know, we get that out. Everybody that's ordered it will get it. And then it's going in the vault until I learn how to sell a tabletop RPG, you know.
Understandable.
So I don't know how long that'll be because I keep starting businesses, you know. So we've started, you know, Fun My Comic. We've started Iron Age Distribution. I am starting Crack-A-Boom Coffee, so my own coffee brand. And then we're going to be launching a new business for Fundiverse.com probably later this year. And so through all that, then I have to figure out and build the connections in that fandom to be able to sell the book. So at that point, once I've been able to make those connections and there is a desire, there is a demand for the book, we'll pull it out of retirement. I don't know how long that'll be. It could be 6 months, could be 6 years. It will come back eventually, but only when there's demand there. So if you want the game, which is very fun, Nicholas Tucker did a fantastic job. He said, do you want it based off of 5e? What do you want? I said, I want it to be original. I said, I want it to be a nice D20 game, but I want the rules to be original to us. I don't want anybody like, oh, well, it's based on that module or those kind of things, and so you can't use it. I didn't want that at all. So he came up with this base +2 system. It is super rules light. It's very easy to use, and the game is story heavy. It's all about the fun and about the story. We do write in the rule of cool. Okay? If it's cool, the GM can allow it. I mean, a lot of fun stuff about this thing. We have the quick play that people have done. We're actually almost giving away the quick play and the first quick play and the first 2 floppies of the game. Of the comic book. If you go there right now and you use code beta 2023 on the Fund My Comic, you'll see the Try It All. I mean, the Try It First. The Try It First has those 3 PDFs, and it saves you 20% if you use beta 2023. So for 80 cents, I send you the Google Drive link tonight to try those things. And people have tried them, and they're like, I love this. This is amazing. I can't wait to get the whole thing. And that they've moved from trying it to now they're consuming it. You know, they've gotten the digital versions of things, and they're consuming it now. The physical version of the RPG Volume 2, not RPG, the TPB, dear God, these acronyms.
Yeah.
The trade paperback, it is at the print right now, and so I should have it in just a couple of weeks. And so we will be shipping out Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the trade paperbacks first. So anyone that just backed those, we didn't have hardly anyone back the game. So it's like a very small amount. So those people are being very patient. So I've decided to go ahead and put a little extra work into the book and add some stuff that we weren't expecting to add. So it's going to have more pages in the core manual. Since we're going to vault it, I wanted to really do it upright. Okay. So we're adding a little more content, putting a little bit more in there. Why no 5e? I like 5e. I understand you like it, but somebody else owns it. So no
bullshit.
Yeah, so no, you will like this too. This is just as I guarantee you that when people find these rules and Nick gets the word out about his system that he's created, other people will start building game modules based around the Base Plus 2 system. It is an ideal system. It takes everything that's great about classic D&D and everything that's great about 5e and merges everything together with some of our own stuff. So it's really, really cool. Yeah, it's great what we're doing over there. So yeah, check that out. I think that you'll like that. Just a few days left to get on that one. And that one directly helps me. I don't know what else to say, guys. I'm quite...
Don't start, Herman. Herman's talking about Martin and Rothfuss.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this. Rothfuss. Who's that?
Well,
Patrick Rothfuss and George R.R. Martin failing to finish their book series.
Their big epic fantasy series is making people gun shy to start new unfinished series.
It's giving us novelists a bad name because they're one is moderately large and the other one is pretty well known.
Okay, well, I am not a novelist, and here's why you can be confident about what Luke Stone is creating over here. We have 9 books of the 12 planned that are out.
There you go.
I am drawing number 10 and number 11 now. Okay, so the art has already commenced on those 2 books. The script for number 12 is almost finished. I'm just trying to decide on what I want to do with one scene. Before we start the art, I'll send that off to the guy that does my layouts as soon as I'm done with that, okay? And the editors had a chance to look at it. Those 3 books will be done this year. That's the plan for those. They will definitely be done this year. Because it doesn't take me long to finish one of those books once I've started drawing it. I get it done in about 2.5 weeks. I know my characters so well. I can do about 11 to 12 pages a week. And so 2-3 weeks it's done. And so it's coming out. It's going to happen. You've already got 9 issues that have been compiled into 2. Now you can get this floppies from my website or from aerocomics.store if you want floppies, but the trades are, the compiled trades are together. So you can take a chance on it. I mean, it's happening. It's not, we've got the money set aside for it already. We're not abandoning the project. It's getting done. At the very least, 3 more books. But we've got like 3 or 4 spinoffs that are in the works as we speak. So we're working on those too that we're going to be bringing, obviously, to Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to go. So, So the only thing that's getting shelved is the comic is the RPG.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how to sell it, guys.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, I kind of had the same problem when I started out. I'm a 6 novels produced and running a business website. So it's like I spend part of my day upselling the business. I spend part of my day trying to upsell every single one of those books in some way. And it's almost like trying to upsell 7 different products. And there's just not enough time in the day for that if you want to get anything else done otherwise. So I totally get it. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I can imagine. I, as far as how you say things moving forwards, what's aside from finishing this campaign, what's the next big step for what you're doing? Just in general, what's your next big thing? Is there anything that you haven't
The
talked about
hybrids
yet?
campaign are you asking about?
No, not
Or-
hybrids, right? Because he said he's
Yeah.
probably going to be shelving that. But like, with the Iron Age distribution and Fund My Comic,
Yeah,
what's the
well,
next
we've
big
got
goal for
those
those?
are both
Or
pretty
do you
big
have
goals.
another personal project?
Yeah,
you know
those
what I
are
mean?
both pretty big things.
Mhm.
I mean, let's not.
Well, I know, but I mean, like, what's the latest? What's the hot news on the latest thing that you got coming up?
For me, we got a couple things. We're doing a thing called the Out of Obscurity anthology.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have some things that I've contributed in there, but nothing I've written. I'm getting ready to. I've got a book done that will have zero fanfare. It will just come out on my website. I might put it on Fun My Comic just for visibility, but it's called Other Realms, and it is a collection of short stories that are introductions to new worlds. And the way I write is everything is continuous, but they're in they're little stories, like complete stories. So when you buy volume 1 of Hybrids, that's a complete story. When you buy volume 2, it's a complete story. It tells the story that I want to tell. And then the next part is a continuation of that story. But it wraps it up like a season would, You have to wait till next season for the rest. So we're doing that. We are working on Rift Riders number 2. Rift Riders is a big project for us. It is now out to everybody, and the word's coming back in. They love it. So we're working on that. Piper right now is working on, with her team, they're working on the Little Mermaid.
Yep.
AR 13.
Mermaid.
Yep.
The Little Mermaid.
Busy
So
woman.
so we're waiting on that one. And then she and I and a guy named Shane Almond, who does some writing for me. I'll kind of arc something out and I'll say, hey, script it for me. And he does a fantastic job with that. He's a very talented writer. And so I like working with him. I kind of wanted to have a production company more than I wanted to have kind of these logistics companies.
Mm-hmm.
But why not do both, right? I think we can do both. And so we're working on that. And then one of the things that I hope to get to next year, I've had this idea for a while, and I see the super chat, and thank you for supporting Royce's channel with that. I appreciate that. Did any Western comic authors try to reach out to Japanese animation companies? I know the Chinese have. I don't know that they have, but we are working on animation. That's why I wanted to bring that up. So we're working to converting the Hybrid series into a series of short animated cartoons, motion comics basically, based on taking the art that was already in the comic books. And Pedro Ang is going to be animating those for me. And so we're going to be doing one. Each issue is going to be like 5 to 7 minutes of a cartoon basically. And we're going to have voiceover and all that fun stuff. So we're going to work on that. That is one of the things we're doing. And then there's another project that I've wanted to do for a while, is kind of a Shonen Jump, like one of these kind of type series where we just take it's very expensive to make a comic book. Very expensive and time consuming. So most comic books are anywhere between 24 and 32 pages, sometimes more, like 40. And it can get very, very expensive and take a long time to make that happen. But it's easier if you break that down into chunks. Now, I write my stories in 6 to 8 page chunks mostly 6. And each one of those chunks has a beginning, middle, and end. So a first act, second act, third act in the scene. And those scenes are part of a larger story that have a first, second, third act. So each issue that I write has a first, second, third act. And the first, and so it's broken down into scenes that have those elements in there. And then those issues are all part of a larger arc. So the volume that have a first, second, third arc. And then the volumes are part of a first, second, third arc. So it's kind of like this ongoing thing where once I've wrapped that up, then I have to start a new arc, And so I've been writing like that for a while now. And I get very good reviews from editors and people that know things about writing. But more than that, I get a lot of fans that really like my writing style and how it flows and how it's always putting them into the story and giving them something that they want and then making them want more of that. But while they're waiting for more of that, they're getting something else that they want. And so it's kind of like going to the buffet for a little bit of each thing at a time and wanting to go back for more. And I thought, well, what if...
I'm very familiar with that concept.
Right. Yeah, it's a great concept. That's why I'm fat. But
I was thinking of Anvil, but yeah, I also like buffets.
You understand with Anvil, yeah. So one of the things that I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to find a number of creators that can work in a black and white format for a few stories, like probably 4 stories, and each one of them take the right number of pages to make a 32-page book and be able to produce that book monthly or bi-monthly and put that out so that every time you get that book, it's the same 4 stories, but you're getting the continuation of last month's story. So they're like little soap opera sagas of each one. Gotcha. And then see if we can't grow that from a 32-page book to a 40-page book for another run of that. And then move from there to where we finally get these thick graphic novel type volumes of creators that are putting out their own stories, much like anime does. See, the problem is we don't need to chase the markets in other countries. We just need to make our stuff available to them.
Correct.
It's not that they don't want to read Western comic books. They want to read good Western comic books. So we have good Western comic books. All we have to do is get it in their hands. And I think once we get it in their hands, then we'll be fine. That's what we need to do. And we're struggling to do that on our own as individuals. There's an episode of Doctor Who that I love. Doctor Who comes to this wall at the end of a timeline. And it's all going to end. So what does he do? The only thing he can, punches the wall. Then he goes through the whole thing again. Gets to the same spot. But guess what? That crack from that last time was still there in that wall.
Yep.
So he hits it again. And that he loops and cycles until he has bloodied his knuckles on making that wall thin, and he finally pops through. You know what?
And
we
also
can do that.
Died every single time that happened.
He died every single time it happened.
Mm-hmm. So
now,
one punch and then death.
One punch
all
and
the
death,
way back to the wall, punch and then death. It just repeats over and over and over again
until he finally breaks through the wall. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want to die that many times. I don't want to try to break through the wall and fail that many times. It's a lot easier to break through the wall when we do it together.
Yeah.
If it took 1,000 punches, to get through that wall, well, what if you had 1,000 people punching at the same time, right? We can get further together. We need to stop being so competitive with one another and be more supportive of one another of what we're doing. And I think that's what I like about the Iron Age movement, because that's what it is. Initially I saw that happening with the Comicsgate people. And then this Iron Age thing came up where people's like, well, it's not so much about the culture war for me. It's not so much about, politics for me. It's just, I'm tired of the bad. It's more of a broad movement, a broad statement of what's going on. And I'm like, well, why can't we do that? And so this is kind of another one of those ideas that I want to do it, and I hope to do it. If somebody else wants to come and take that idea away from me and let me help publish it, then I would be happy to do that. But it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to putting together my production team
for that next year. I want to work with the same artist, writers, creators, and I want it to be a real passion project, a love, to make a very, like, when people see Luke Stone Studios attached to something, I want them to think that that is quality, you know, that's something that they can count on, that is good, you know, it's good stuff.
Yep.
And so
Same.
that's what we're working towards right now.
Well, that's awesome. I mean,
Perfect.
yeah, I'm not going to take that from you. You know, like, imagine. I have trouble imagining doing that rate of production for something on a monthly basis. You know what I mean? It's
a serious undertaking.
yeah, that's a very serious
Well, when you
undertaking.
think that you don't do it all yourself.
Well, yeah, of course, but
right.
I mean,
Yeah. It's like the idea
it's,
is you can do that if you're not doing it alone.
yeah, and I mean, and my thing is that I start thinking about it, I'm like, all right, so you probably need at least 1.5 times as many illustrators or artists as you actually need, but just because you're going to have people that you're going to have to swap in and out sometimes.
Yep.
You know, things
Just
go
like
wrong.
the big guys do.
Here
Yep.
comes the project manager.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I'm like, oh, so just, you know,
Each series
Can
needs
see-
to have a main artist and a backup artist.
yeah, exactly. And
You
so,
can see
And
the exhaustion
that
wafting
artist-
off of
yeah,
her
I'm like, oh,
thinks about it.
I mean, that sounds very, it sounds awesome. And I think it's something that we need because, you know, I mean, that was part of my reasoning with Anvil, is that we need a consistency for people, both for, you know, and I would love to have
My
made it
favorite saying.
like bi-monthly instead of quarterly, you know, but it's kind of like I want to make sure that I can walk before I try to run, sort of thing.
Well, plus we're doing 7 short stories. And
Yeah, we're doing pretty
comic.
big magazines. You know what I mean?
It's a much larger undertaking than that could be put
Yeah.
together in a matter of a month or two. It would be way too difficult, even with a large group behind it. It would be
I mean, with a dedicated team of you know, a couple people, and then you would need some staff writers and stuff like that. You could make it work. You know what I mean? But you need to be producing content on your own. Like Anvil could not be an open submission magazine in that case. You know what I mean? It could have open submission sections, but it would need to have the backbone internally filled out, you know, and that's not necessarily something I want to try and do.
Well,
But-
and I think a lot of people, we think, well, where is there money? Like, that's a lot of work. You know, how do you pay for all of that? We worry so much about that.
Well, I
You know,
think that, I don't know. I worry about money only because I'm concerned. Well, not only. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to like bankrupt myself or something. But at the same time, if I'm setting up contracts with people, I want to make sure that I'm able to pay them, and then I'm able to continue paying them in the future. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it.
You know?
And I'll be honest, but I think Eric July proves that there's money out there.
Oh, sure.
You know,
It's just whether or not everybody has the, you know, not everybody has the marketing capabilities of Eric July. You know,
Look, he didn't build that
you need
overnight.
just a little bit. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
You know, and that's the thing. We
Yeah,
all
we've
want to
talked
get there overnight. We don't.
Right? Yeah.
I've been listening to this guy. I think his name's Gary V or something like that.
Oh yeah, Gary Vee.
And he talks about, you know, the thing about patience when you're building these brands. He didn't get where he is overnight.
Yep.
And so we have to think in the long term. It's like, how do we get there? If you don't plan for the long term, you'll never get there. And it's really about producing content. And you know,
That's what I keep
if
saying.
the idea is that you're supposed to produce so much content every day, think about most creators that do stories or art. How often are they really producing content? Once a week, once a month, once a year. For some comic book creators, we have to get to the point to where we're thinking in terms of more content more often. That's why the idea of this Shonen Jump thing, this American version of it works, because in 6 pages you've got 2 pages for your first act, 2 for your second, 2 for your third. Nice. If you can't write that and make it good and clean and tell a story in 6 pages, you probably need to go learn a few more things. Not to be rude, but look, we're talking about excellence here. We're talking about, this is business. We talked ministry for a while. We talked faith. Now we're talking business. If you really want to do this for a living, you've got to apply yourself. You've got to learn the skills to do that. As a writer, you can do that. As an artist, you can learn the skills to produce a black and white comic book, 6 pages in a week. If you can't do 6 black and white pages in a week, as a full-time graphic artist, as a full-time artist, what are you doing? As a part-time guy who worked a full-time job, I could do 6 pages a month. Right? We're not talking about rocket science here.
Nope.
We're not asking you to make every page a work of art like what EVS does. If you look at this manga art, they're telling the story, and they're telling it well. They're not making it. It's not tremendous works of art. It's competent works of art. We want you to be competent, right? Because people want escapism. They want entertainment. Of course, we love those books where it's every page is there's room for that, and there's a place for that. But if you're trying to get a commodity of attention, then you've got to get their attention. The best way to get their attention is to put content out every day for them, as much as you can.
Well, and I also think that there's one thing that I've noticed that I'm hoping to do is consistency and a level of,
I love that word.
Like set and forget for consumers. Because one thing one thing I've noticed about the indie space, and this is a criticism that I'll level at indie creators, is that there's often a lot of complaining about consumers, right? Oh no,
Right,
these consumers, these idiot readers, they like to read romance novels, and why, oh no, lit RPG, and oh no, why aren't they finding our comic books? These idiots, and it's like, oh, okay, fine. These are not necessarily totally groundless critiques, right? I understand where they're coming from. A lot of times it's just a venting frustration. That's fine. But
let me ask this. When we do that, what makes us different than the mainstream that criticizes the fans?
Yep.
It's not their fault we're unsuccessful. It's our fault we're unsuccessful.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that a lot of consumers, and I think this is true for probably even people in the chat to a certain degree on different things, is that everybody's generally lazy about something, right? And most people are lazy about what content they consume. And, it's very rare that somebody considers every single decision they make throughout the day genuinely. You know what I mean? Like you can have a deep thinker. They're just going to put on some jeans and a t-shirt because that's a simple decision. You know what I mean? They're not making fashion statements. You've got somebody who's really into indie comics. They might not worry about, am I eating, the most ethically sourced, organic, free range beef, whatever. You know what I mean? There's always something. We're always outsourcing decisions on something to some degree. And I think that there are a lot of consumers out there who would happily go out and buy and support these indie products if they knew about them and if it was easy to do so. You know what I mean?
Bingo. Well,
and that's where I think like your idea of a Western shonen or like indie shonen,
easy to consume, yes,
concept is there. I don't have to, look around. I just have to subscribe to this, and that's the same premise for Anvil that I'm wanting to do. Not with the second issue yet, but for 2024, my goal is to say, okay, you can now buy yearly subscriptions, and it'll just
come
have
to
to go
your
out
door.
and find. Yeah, you don't have to go out and find the campaign every time. Not that you shouldn't go on Fund My Comic every day and look for what's new, but there are some consumers
he's
who
back.
don't want to do that. Hey, well, let's hear your updates.
Yeah.
So updates. No traveling. The kiddo does not have to be sent to the specialist. That's an hour and a half away.
That's
That's
good.
good. Sounds like a clean break.
Good.
So they're able to reset it. I don't have much more than that, but not having to go to a specialist is good news.
It is good news.
If my experience is anything, they're going to cast it up, send her home, probably prescribe some pain meds if my experience is anything to go off of. But those are the updates that I have so far. So yeah, I
Well,
will
good news.
I will post pictures in the Gilded. Her arm looks like a U.
Oof.
It's a bad one, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But if it was clean and they were able to set it, that's important.
well, my wife just sent me a thing and said no traveling, which means that we don't have to go see the specialist that can have to do special things to set the bones. So that's good.
That's good
That's
news.
very, very good.
And if
And
they can set it and cast it, there's no need for pins or anything like that.
Yep. So, well, and the kids are resilient, man. I was one once, and I remember, but yet no. So it's yeah. So she's doing good as far as I know. More updates to follow. We'll keep you guys updated throughout the weekend. But yeah,
Appreciate
so I had it when I picked up the kids. The kids were amazing, by the way. The kids had put away all the chickens by the time I got there. The people who are letting us use that space, they watched the kids for us. They're awesome friends of the family. So yes,
Good.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. So just yeah, good Lord. I just my wife is the unabashed rock star of the night. I even told her, I was like, hey babe, because we believe it or not, I and I mean
Where are
this
you kidding?
sincerely,
She's the rock star always.
I can pick up a ball and throw it from my yard and hit the parking lot of the hospital. That's part of the reason why we moved where we live. The hospital is literally across the street from our house. So I was going to walk over there, and my wife was like, no, baby, it's fine. I got it. I've got this handled. She goes, I'll keep you updated. She goes, you do the stream. I might need you to pick up the kids. You handle that for me. My wife, unabashed rock star of the night. She is my superwoman. That woman is amazing. I told the kids all the way on the drive home, I was like, guys, you guys have no idea how amazing your mother is. And no, seriously, that woman is, I could not make it through life without her. And she's there for my kiddos. And I know, and anybody who knows a good mom, like you know that she feels the pain that the kiddos are in her heart. Like that's where mothers carry all of that. And she's amazing, dude. So yeah, so that's the update for the evening. But yeah, so yeah, I am back. I have been listening to the conversation. I've been listening to the business conversation. It's just, man, this is what a hell of a show. I'm sorry I missed it, but it did not lack for my presence not being here. That's for sure. Even my son in the car was like, Dad, I really like listening to this. I'm like, yeah.
A lot of content on tonight's show.
Dude, you guys have covered a lot of ground, and oh man, and just because we're getting close to the end, and I'll probably cut it because I do have to go upstairs, but Richard and Daniel, thank you for holding it down for me. I will.
It was easy.
Yeah. No, I was listening to the show.
Hanging out and talking.
It's amazing how when we have guests who are enthusiastic to talk about their projects and be here, it's really easy on the host when the guest is just like, yeah, I'll talk about it. And, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. Trippy.
He's a public speaker, so he's used to
I
it.
am a public speaker, but this is one more part of the whole business side of things, right? If people want to do this, one of the whole things about marketing is no one's going to sell your product better than you are.
Right.
And a lot of times more people are more interested in you than they are your actual product.
And that's why I say I'm not here to sell your product. That's your job. I'm here to sell you. That's my job.
It's
And
an
I wasn't
unfortunate
here
truth.
tonight, and you guys did my job for me. But that's why I say that. That's exactly why I say that, Luke. I recognize. Now I suck at doing that for myself, but that's why I'm here, you know. But no, you're 100% right. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Much
It
as
is-
I hate it, yes.
it's difficult, really. I mean, you've kind of got to get out of your shell to do that. I think as believers, we're preconditioned to be humble. You know, so
Sure.
Well,
it was
and
very difficult for me to say, guys, I'm a really good writer and a pretty decent artist. You should buy my book because you will enjoy it and it will make your life better for having done so. That seems incredibly arrogant. But if you really truly believe that, then you're actually doing them a disservice by not telling them that.
no, but there's a certain sense of a craftsman taking pride in their work, and there are passages in the Bible that talk about that. You take pride in what you do, not the bad kind of pride, and you understand that you earn you strike a deal with those, and you earn what you earn based off of the work that you produce.
Well, you know, that's true. It's called value, you know, the value of it. That's why we say we do everything as we do it unto the Lord, as worship unto the Lord, because there has to be a value to what you're doing. If you don't communicate the value of what you've produced, no one's going to think that it has value. That's why it costs X amount of dollars to hire Luke to draw your book, because that's what I'm worth. You know, that's why we sell the things for why we do, because that's the value of it.
Well, and it's why, and then, you know, not to go too deeply into the Bible verses here, but it's why, oh God, what verse is it that there were men who all agreed upon the wage that they were supposed to earn.
Yeah, the parable.
And the one guy, the parable, and the one guy complains and he goes, well, wait a minute here. And he's like, but I did all this. He goes, no, our agreement was that you would all get paid this. So take your money and go. We have met the agreement. And and what a lot of people don't realize is there's honoring a contract there. And that's what we're doing here. We're honoring a contract, not only, you know, with everybody on the show. I asked you to come on the show, and I said, hey, man, would you give some of your time up to be on this show? I'd really love to talk about what you're doing. And you said, yeah. And so our contract is that you come on to the show and I, you know, and we give you the time here to talk about your stuff, and we have an engaging conversation for the audience. Your contract with the audience is that when they go and they buy your book, you know, and they pay, you know, and they pay a certain dollar amount, it's like, look, that's the contract. Don't come back to us and then say, oh, but wait a minute, what about this extra thing? We never talked about that. We said, here's the contract, and there is such a sense of honoring the contract. And I'm
going to push that one step further, Royce.
Ooh,
Check this
yes.
out. So when you
I like
asked me to be on your show, you had to produce value for me to be here, and I had to produce value for being asked on for you. But even more than that, we all are trying to produce value for the ones in the chat.
True.
Because they have come and they have given their time to listen to us talk for 2 hours and 48 minutes. And in that 2 hours and 48 minutes, if we've produced no value, we have wasted the only commodity that we all are in short supply of and can never have enough of, and that is time.
Yep.
So it is all about producing value and engaging in that relationship with the value, and then communicating that value.
I 100%
If I believe
agree.
If I believe it's worth their time to come check out my show on Thursday morning on Luke Stone Studios over on YouTube for 2 hours, 3 hours, then they have to.
I'll get it.
Probably not.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
But if I believe it's value, and I do believe it's value for you to come on there and to learn, you're going to learn. You're going to be educated. If I tell you that it's valuable, I better deliver it. I better deliver value while I'm there, right? It's just like if I tell you that my book is valuable, I better deliver it. But here's the thing. If I'm afraid that I'm not going to deliver, I'm not going to have confidence in my product.
Right.
And if I don't have confidence in my product, no one's going to come. They're not going to buy it. They're not going to come listen. They're not going to engage with me because I don't have confidence. So it all comes down when you're really trying to market and sell your stuff and be this. You've got to produce value, but you've got to believe what you're producing is of value. And that requires some confidence and it requires some humility.
Yeah.
Because maybe you believe it's of value and it's not. So you're going to have to take some criticism so you can adjust to get there. Anyway.
No, 100%. And sorry, I'm also I'm receiving updates right now. But you know that it's one of those things that when you talk about confidence and value, it's why I surround myself with the people that I surround myself with. And I was talking about it today with a friend of mine, and you talk about confidence and value here, and this really strikes me because I was just talking with my buddy. He's my only friend that I know whose net worth is in the millions. I knew him before he had that, and I've seen how he's grown through that. He's an a-hole if you get on his bad side, but I don't talk with him because he's a millionaire like some people who are trying to get in with him. I talk with him because he's my friend, and I've known him for a long time. And he called me one day out of the blue when we had separated and apologized to me. And you talk about value and confidence. And believe it or not, dealing with everything I'm dealing with tonight, getting the updates, going to pick up the kids, and listening to the show, because keep in mind that it's my channel. And I'm very, very guardful of my channel. And I will say this, after tonight, and I should have had this before then, but I haven't really had an instance yet to test it. I realized the value, and I now have a greater confidence in my co-hosts. And
even the drunk one.
But guys, I've been listening to the show the entire time, right? Well, not the entire time because I had to get out and say that, but you talk about confidence and value, and it's not just in business; it's in friendships.
Yes,
right?
it is.
It's in relationships. It's in small, everyday encounters, confidence and value. And believe it or not, and I am not one to give that stuff away lightly because I used to, and I got screwed. And I realized tonight, not just in my co-host, but in my chat too, when I was like, hey guys, I got to go. That community I was talking about earlier, well, I just realized the value. And I have even more confidence in my guys here holding it down if I can. If
And
I
they
ever had
should,
to
man.
say,
They
guys,
handle this
I've got
fine.
104-degree fever, I can't do Iron Age Nights, I know these two can hold it down. And I should have had that before tonight, but I'm human. And
good.
I unabashedly thank you. And you know what? If I ever have 104-degree fever and I need a co-host to tap in, I might touch you. I might send you a DM, Luke.
I'm always available for you, man. So here's a couple of things and again, you said something deep. I got to go a little deeper with it, man. So, you said there's value and confidence. I can't help it. It's the preacher.
We're gonna be here all night.
Yeah, it's the
It's the
pastor.
preacher. Yeah. So you said value and confidence in your friendships as well, not just your business. Well, a lot of times we only look at people as a transaction. And when you're looking at your customers as only a transaction, you're not valuing them beyond their dollars. We see a lot of people do that, and that's why we complain about the customer and we blame them for all of the reasons why we're not selling books. It's no, you're not selling books because you don't value people. You don't, and that's that it's beautiful when you can sit there and you look like I'm surrounded by people of value, which leads me to this point. You are who you surround yourself with. if
Yep.
you hang out with losers, newsflash, you're going to be a loser. Even if you're an eagle, if you're covered in duck crap,
Yep.
you're never going to fly like an eagle.
Yep.
You're covered in duck crap. You can't do it.
Fair.
Yep.
There are people that I love that I love them, but they refuse to live a successful life and a happy life. I can't be a part of it. I say, I'm going to love you from a distance. I'm going to pray for you, but I'm going to surround myself with people that have joy, that have purpose, that have meaning, and that have a desire and a focus for something beyond where they're at, that they have ambition and they have direction. You've got to surround yourself with people like that, or else you're never going to get anywhere.
All right.
Truth.
Holy crap. Okay. That my buddy that I was talking about, that I had that conversation with, talking about value and all that. I just told him today. I said, man, I'm in a spot right now in my life where, as busy as I am and as hard as I work, I am surrounding myself with people that make me feel like I'm the lazy guy. Like, I've got, the full-time job, the YouTube thing, building a smoker pit, doing the family life, having to read books, produce YouTube videos, as much as I can, like all this stuff going on. And then I get some, one of many a-holes. There's many a-holes in my Gilded.
Many.
And they're just like,
In one co-host.
yeah. And they're just like, hey, finished a chapter of my book today, wrote 6,000 words. And I'm like, you have a day job. How did you do it? And I'm like, surround yourself. And I told my buddy, and I said, not enough people hear this. Surround yourself with people that make you feel, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter, that make you feel like you're the lazy guy, because you don't want to be the lazy guy in that group.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be the lazy guy in my Gilded. Like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, hey, what is everybody else doing? And they're like, oh, we're building culture. What are you doing, Royce? And I'm like, well, I played some games today. And
I used to say something very similar when I was in music.
Yeah.
So I've been in members of bands that have gotten contracts, never a major contract, but for Christian contemporary music, pretty decent contracts. So 3 different bands, 3 different contracts over the years. And people was like, Luke, how are you always getting these kind of deals? And I'm like, well, I have a rule. I have to be the weakest link in the chain in the band. I have to be the least talented person in the band. If I'm not the least talented person in the band, I'm in the wrong band. Or that person. Like, I have to be the least talented person. And that's how you get successful in business or anything. All of my creative teams, I'm the least talented person.
Yep.
I make sure that I hire everybody that's better than me. My partners, look, I bring a lot to the table, but there's a reason why I signed a contract with Phil and with Todd. I am the least talented person in the room after I've had a conversation with these guys. I know who my partners are. I know that they've got strengths that I do not have. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm a good Stan Lee. I'll get out and sell it all day long. And I'll tell you why all my stuff is the best stuff. But I'll tell you, Stan Lee couldn't have done it without a Jack Kirby.
Oh, yeah.
Stan Lee is not more talented than Jack Kirby. I'm just saying. I know that's controversial, but I'm just saying.
It ain't controversial at all. Stan Lee would have said it himself, and did say it himself multiple times.
Yeah. So,
guys, I'm going to read the last few super chats we have here, and then I'm going to get everybody an out, because I know Richard said he's got a hard out because he's got to go do the bed thing, and I need to get upstairs because the wife and the kiddo are coming home, and Daddy's going to get a Sharpie, and I'm going to sign my daughter's cast because
there you go.
That's what I'm going to do.
We did read a couple.
Yeah, we read a bunch of them.
Okay, there were 3.
I missed one here.
Yep, do it, Richard. That's it. I'm hands off.
Did you contact King Richard from Kikomon for $2? Did you contact Public Square? I have not. I feel like we must have had a conversation that I have forgotten about, because that's not ringing a bell for me. But
I'll look it up.
Kikomon for $5 here. Did you guys get that one? Did any Western comic authors try
Yeah,
to
we
reach
covered
out to
that.
Japanese? Okay, you got that one?
Yep.
All right. Well, see, guys, I'm useless. I don't even need to be here. I'll just set up the stream and just let it go on Fridays. Like, what do I even need to be here?
Well, I wanted to make sure that we were reading those
The
because
intro.
I do this for my channel, right? I understand that they gave you money, so we got to thank them for that.
Well, and legitimately, that is why I do my supporter live stream
Yep.
on Wednesdays. And because
Sunday
YouTube is weird, but I always tell people, if you go over to Gilded, if you go over to my Gilded, if you guys are in my adrinkwithcrazy.locals.com, but if you guys go over there, and you guys actually become a part of the supporter tiers, which is a $2, there's a $5, and there's a $10 a month tier on Gilded. So that's it's an easier entry. Your locals is just a hard $5. But if you guys do that, I do a live stream every single Wednesday with my supporters, and we go through, and then we also try to give back to the community by covering all the different comic books. I call it Comic Shop Wednesday. And I know this sounds like a shill. It's not really meant to be a shill, but the people are giving me money monthly, and it's like, what do? I don't have the time in my day, I think, to produce extra videos, to do these extra creator things, to make a mug or some dice or a drink with crazy chibi, which never thought about that till now, but I need to make that happen. But I don't have the time in my day to do those things.
I can make that happen.
But what I can do is I can invite the people who care about this stuff as much as I do, who have entered in with the dollar amounts in my Gilded and my locals, and I can bring them on Wednesdays, and we can talk about comics, and we can tell everybody what we think of these new awesome projects that are coming out. Like, because again, you're talking about the dollar value. That's hugely important.
Yeah.
Yep.
You create
You know?
value. You got to create value.
No, it is. So let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Wait.
Before we close out real quick,
Oh no.
just real quick, there's a reason why I say a lot, and those in the community have seen it either on tweets or just in conversations, that I say the Iron Age takes care of its own. And that's because we are more than just a group of supporters and potential collaborators and memers. We're there, whether it's helping someone out in a crisis or just praying when a thing happens, or being there to hear those complaints about consumers. The point of the Iron Age community to me has always been the connectivity more than the sales value, audience, fan base stuff that you see all over social media all the time. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick before we wrapped up.
Yeah. No,
That's a good note to end on.
That is a great note to end on. Too bad I have a super chat to read and a chat here that I want to highlight. Ultimate
Good.
Kahuna for $1.99 says, "Yeah, Royce, thank us." LOL. And then
Very nice.
to bring it back, and I was a part of this very little, and I want to make it known. I did my best to help promote this. My wife and I did our best to work on this. I don't think we were able to at the time. This was mostly Richard and Skunk's Workshop.
Yep.
All right, Snow says, "You all fed me and my family."
Iron
And that
Age
was-
takes care of its own.
That was through,
and Sword Rush.
or Sword Rush, yeah. But you guys, it was you and Sword Rush, not Skunks, right? Yeah,
I
just apologize. But no, I just want to make it well known.
I think
that-
Skunks might have donated, but yes,
Yeah.
Sword Rush did like
It was-
and
I'm
his
sorry.
wife did the lion's share of the.
No,
Yeah.
and I got my names mixed up, but no, I want to make it well known that although a lot of people in my guild had got in on that, my wife and I, we juggle bills every month like everybody else can, and we did our best to make sure that we spread the word. But the lion's share of that was 100% Richard and 100% Sword Rush. So yeah, but that's what that's what this community does. That's what we do. We take care of each other. We buy each other's books. We bust each other's balls, but we keep each other honest, and we're there
And
for each
spread
other
the word.
when we need it. You know, I've seen meme lords turn into crying shoulders when they need to, because that's the type of community that we have. And that's the community that I know that I'm supposed to build. So with that being said, Mr. Luke Stone from Fund My Comics, Luke Stone Studios, and Iron Age Distribution, and the future ruler of the world industry. It'll happen. It's crystal ball. It's black magic. We won't get into it.
Royce has
I still
said
just
it.
want to make my comic and be left the hell alone.
Yeah.
Sir, you're
Wishes.
taking over the world and you want to be left alone. You should have thought
pretty
about
much.
that, right? Sir, where can we find you? How do we do? And what links can
Very,
I
very
share?
simple. Please just go to lukestonestudios.com. You're going to find my store up there. You're going to find my comics up there. You're going to find a link to music where I could actually once play guitar. And you're going to be like, damn, that guy was pretty good. Yeah, can't do that anymore. But yeah, definitely check that out. Go to fundmycomic.com. Check out that. I do want to thank the one person that backed Hybrids, the double feature. If you got the Try It Now or the Try It First, I'm going to make sure to get that sent out before I go to bed. We've got a great stuff going on over there. So yeah, lukestonestudios.com, fundmycomic.com, and then also my books are available at arrowcomics.store. And don't forget to like and subscribe not only to this channel, but also to mine at Luke Stone Studios over on YouTube, and I am under the Salty Artist on the Rumbles.
Ooh, the Rumbles. Well, thank you so much,
You like
man,
the
Mr. Daniel P. Riley. Good sir.
I have way too much stuff, even though I'm inspired by Luke to actually shill tonight. I'll cut it short. You can find me on Twitter, Mr. DP Riley. You
See.
can check out my literary coaching and services website, whimsyland.org. If you'd like help, like the Kahuna, to finish that novel, I can help you get there and clean it up so it's ready for publishing. And otherwise, my books are everywhere. They're on Amazon. They're available on every bookstore through Drafted Digital. It's, I went wide.
Sir, phrasing.
Mhm.
Phrasing.
That's what she said.
Your phrasing made it sound like it was bigger. Anyway, Richard.
That is what she said.
That is exactly what she said.
Oh, good God.
You guys are terrible, I tell you.
Yeah, I know. You had to ruin it. It's fine.
You didn't enter a
One time I actually want to show and you had to ruin it.
Richard, what you got? How you do? How you know? Where can
Well,
we find you?
as always, ironage.media is where you can find me. We just concluded the May voting, and the winner of that is up on the site under the prompts section.
Who is that?
Shigor Birdman with the Norport Miracle.
Nice.
So the other thing I'm going to do is, for a change which I have not done, is I'm actually going to drop a link to Anvil. So in case there's anybody still who hasn't picked it up, do it quickly, because I'm really
It's
getting
print
very
time.
close to fulfillment. And the moment that I have those magazines, I'm turning off in
I have to
demand.
check. I don't know that I backed it yet.
Well,
I was kind of waiting for it to go on Fun of My Comic. but I
well,
don't think it's-
there's going to be there's going to be an option to pick
Ladies
up the
and
first
gentlemen,
issue.
if you want
think.
Luke Stone Studio to back your project, make sure it's on Fund My Comic.
Yeah,
it's a
I was
really
gonna
good chance
say-
I'll back it over there.
I was going to say the second issue will be on Fund My Comic,
There we
and really the only thing that is determining that in terms of when that goes live, I still need to get the cover sorted for the second issue, but that is coming along. And then the big next step is getting the first issue out, because I want to get even if it is not in people's hands, I want it to be out the door. I want to be able to say I've completed fulfillment, with maybe the exception of some oddballs and people who can't fill out forms correctly. I'm
just going to screw with Richard and tell him I never got it.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not going to do a review in my house for 3 months, but I never got it.
Yeah, well, maybe I just won't. Now that you've said that, I'm just not going to send you anything. And no,
He's got your number.
Anyway, but yeah, so once that's up, the second issue will be on Fund My Comic, and and you'll be able to get the first issue through that. But once again, I won't be doing fulfillment for the second issue until much later in the year. So
I want to answer Andrew Campbell's question just real quick.
Sure.
Fund My Comic actually doesn't ship anything anywhere unless you buy something that's like we've got a merch thing up that Fund My Comic does, and yes, that ships worldwide, but the creators do ship worldwide if they choose to. You can run campaigns all over. In fact, we have more locations that we can service than Indiegogo. I hardly ever talk about that. That's like a huge selling point, right?
Yeah.
But
they service many locations.
we do service down under. I'll see myself out. I'm sorry.
on that note,
Woo! What a way to end the show.
Oh, what a one-liner. Oh,
There's the
Fund My
tagline.
Comics does service down under, ladies and gentlemen, especially ladies. Wait, whoa, hold on. We're not going there. It's the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for being here on Iron Age Nights, number 37, with Luke from Fund My Comic, guys. Thank you, everybody. Oh my God, this is great. Luke, you're an awesome guest, man. I hope you come back.
Yeah,
it was good
absolutely.
talk.
Tons of fun, man. Tons of fun.
Good, man. Good, dude. Oh.
I'll be sure to say equally as inappropriate things to close out the next show.
Oh, yeah. Not the most inappropriate. We had the we had the AR-13L Little Mermaid crew on.
Oh my.
Ooh.
What a fun
Yeah.
bunch they are.
They
Oh,
are
boy.
a fun
They
bunch.
are a fun bunch.
Well, I kept making construction worker jokes that I thought that they were gonna because I always try to make jokes to kind of see how far I can go to see kind of fun that they didn't stop. And then
Have
they
you met
kept going.
Piper?
I was
Oh.
like, oh yeah. No,
Piper's
I
the
hadn't
best.
until that point, and I realized, oh, I'm gonna get my channel demonetized
Yes, you
because, I kept going and they didn't stop me, and I was like, okay, I need to stop.
Look, they made the Little Mermaid. She's got boobs that are out. Okay,
And a
I mean, come on.
starfish who loves his job.
Yep.
Ladies
Loves
and
the
gentlemen,
job.
thank you all so much for being here on Iron Age Nights. We will see you tomorrow night for Star Shatter. Thank you so much, and we will see you all next time. Cheers, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
good night.